Hello, everyone.
Whoa, we're live.
We are
Oh my god.
live.
That's how
Oh
this
my
works.
god.
All right. For those
Is this the
wondering,
internet?
yeah, my name is Masterofflowers online. I will be our DM for tonight. This is kind of a collab between all our groups, but Dork Vision is our main group that we like to work out of.
Oh, yeah, Dork Vision.
I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. Let's start with James to my left.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. JarlofGoats here. I'm blessed to be able to stream this for the guys. Thank you to Andre for hosting this event and getting us all together with Dork Vision. Let me tell you a little bit about my character tonight. I'm going to be playing a 7th level dwarf ranger named Hildemar Forrespear, sort of a monster hunter who goes around and escorts wagons to make sure they get to their destination safely. And I'll pass it on to Dork Vision.
Hello, this is Dork Vision. My name is Andre, and I'm going to be playing Val the Dog. And Val is a fallen Aasimar warlock who has been traveling with his fellow Aasimar as well as this for many, many years. And he's a quite brooding and intimidating fellow that speaks infrequently and always seems to be causing some type of trouble for everyone. And you take it away, Wolfden 808.
As Dork Vision said, I'm Wolfden 808. My name is Clay. I'm playing a Protector Aasimar paladin who goes out of his way to protect anyone that he can, leading the party into problems at most times. Back to you, John.
Okay, with that, so this one shot that I've created, which my friends always know that I have trouble creating one shots, they end up being 2 or 3 shots. We'll try to get through it as quickly as possible. As long as we're all having fun and enjoying it, I don't mind. It's called the Dancing Demon Inn, and that's all you will know as you start it. For those wondering, it's going to be a survival horror mystery type game, or it should be if I'm doing my job correctly. So to speed the game up, we're going to assume some assumptions that our 3 travelers are friends. They've been adventuring together, and they've been summoned to the capital city of Tyr along the King's Road. Taking the King's Road, they're traveling by wagon that was sent specifically by the king to transport them. The wagon driver, the teamster, goes by the name Chet, and he's been basically kind of the caretaker, the cook, the traveler, as it takes weeks to get from where you were, the town of Portland, all the way to the Tyr Road, basically going from the east coast of the continent all the way to the Midlands. Upon the journey, you've got to know yourselves. You get to meet Chet, he's kind of grumpy in his own right. He's just more of a no-nonsense older man who's been doing this. He's probably traveled up and down this road 100 times. And because the journey takes weeks and weeks, he's kind of a solitary guy, and he seems almost like it that way. We're going to assume also that you know that on your travels, everything is taken care of for you, whether that means camping at night and Chet takes care of your food and provisions, even protection in some way. That's what he was hired to do. But in this case, he has informed you that there's an inn coming up. It's fairly new. He doesn't remember the name of it. But last time he was coming through, it was just being constructed. But he knew that it's going to be there. So you're not going to be sleeping on the ground tonight. You're actually going to be staying within an inn in some comfort, and that he's going to take care of and pay for everything. When you pull up to this massive, pretty large inn, it's a inn/barn combination, where the barn is off to your right side, and to the inn part that comes to the front, you can see a large sign that comes off the front of the building. And this building isn't a typical for the area. It's completely forested wood. It's basically like a gigantic log cabin, but it's 2 stories high with slanted roof and dormers built onto it on the tops, but no windows on the lower part of the building. Just a big, massive double door in the front, and to either side, horse hitches where you can tie up the horses. And then you see that the path going up to the main door, there's also a path that leads off to where the barn is. And this barn is probably the same size, if not bigger, than the inn itself. Obviously, they must store wagons as well as horses or whatever that goes into it. Hanging off the front of it is a large sign, and on it is a bright red demon with wings, kind of a Buddha style with a large gut, leaning back, dancing with a top hat, holding it out over his head as if he's doing some sort of jig or dance. And under that it says, "The Dancing Demon Inn." When the wagon pulls up and stops, there's kind of a smell in the air of not only fresh chilled earth as the grasses in the area, as it's nearing winter, are starting to die off from the cool air at night. You get the smell of freshly cut wood, as this lumber has been probably cut and put up probably it's not cured. It's probably been put up in the past month or so. You could still even see signs of residual wood or other stuff that's just lying around the area that was part of the construction. They probably did everything they could to get it built as quickly as possible and put up so they could start having people come in and stay. You don't hear any noises coming from the inn, though it's solid built, and it looks like you probably don't hear a lot from the inside or the outside, depending which side you're on the door. The door to the wagon, the covered wagon, opens. The gruff, slightly salt and pepper beard, slightly balding, bent over man known as Chet kind of looks in. He's, "So, we're here. You can get out now. You can go on in and set yourselves up. I'll make sure that we take care of the wagon, make sure they know I'll be paying everything. It's all on the king's money." And with that, he just kind of steps back and waits for the three of you to exit.
Hildemar goes first. Oh, okay.
I would not.
Yeah.
I would not.
Hildemar goes first, looking at the two Aasimar next to him. He just shrugs. "Why is it I'm always carrying all the shit?" And he grabs his quiver, he grabs his bow, he picks up his two short swords, buckles them on his belt, kind of lifts up his pot belly to do so, grabs a few satchels and straps it to his sporran, looks over at the other two just to make sure he's not, blocking their way in case they wanted to walk past, and huffs his way out of the wagon, jumping onto the ground with a mighty thump. He reaches into his coin purse, which is kept on the front of his belt, and pulls out a gold coin and slips it to Chet.
Chet looks almost slightly offended, but at the same time, he does take the coin and just kind of nods at you.
When he goes to take it, Hildemar pinches it so he can't just take it freely and says, "This is for such an amazingly smooth ride. You did real good. I didn't have to fire a single arrow, and I appreciate you." And then he does that dwarf forearm clasp, like a warrior shake.
Nice.
Turns around, shifts his pants, farts, and then heads towards the dancing demon inn.
Yeah, Chet surprisingly just kind of grumps and then looks into the card, like a little surprised. And then the strafing run that was your gas catches up to him. He goes, "Oh, yeah. What is that?" And he kind of looks into the card. And he's like, "My lords, you're coming out."
Val would wait for the other Aasimar to leave first.
Axis will slide on out, dusts himself off. He has to remain pretty, clean, pure. He'll nod to the coachman. "Thank you for the ride. It was most enjoyable. May your travels be blessed." He'll nod and walk in.
Val would get out of the cart and look at the driver, not even give him any emotion at all. And then he would raise his voice to speak to the dwarf, and he would say,
"It is because you are closest to the ground."
Hildemar turns around. "What?"
The answer to your question, it is because you are closest to the ground.
Yeah, you fucking
Which is why you must deal with all of this shit.
He just narrows his eyes and then nudges the paladin. Says, "I'm so glad at least you have some manners." Turns around and heads towards the inn.
Axel smile.
Yeah, Val just starts to walk in behind them, but behind the Aasimar, not behind the dwarf.
So your group, after your short conversation, you move. Chet grumbles something about not paying enough to deal with shit like this. Closes the door to the wagon, and you see him starting to lead it towards the barn as you're heading into the inn. You do see that there's a small lad, probably 12 to 13 years old, at the edge of the barn, perhaps maybe the stable boy or something. And Chet kind of waves to him, and he starts to approach, all as you enter the inn. You push the door. It swings open with ease, even though it's massively thick. Thick oak door, barred with iron, slightly reinforced. In many ways, this seems as much like a fortress protected from the outside, which on the outskirts of where you are probably makes some sense. Never know when something's going to attack. This could turn into a hold fast or something. When you open the door, you see it opens up into a massive sitting room. It is about 50 feet across, straight across from you. It goes about maybe 40 or so paces. You see there are 12 different tables, all with different amounts of chairs. Some of the tables are square, some of the tables are rectangular, some are circular, just all different types of seating. Nothing standardized. It seems like everything's just built how they were made, perhaps the size of the planks that they had. They just built chairs and stuff. Directly in front of you to the left is a large bar that takes up almost half of the wall on your left side. You see directly in front of you a massive hearth. And then off to your corners, both on your left and right, are two other hearths. All three of them have small fires going in them. That's how big this place is. You see off to your left, there are three men sitting at a table, and there's two women who are standing next to them that seem to be maybe they're servers or professional wenches. And then you could see to your right, with a battle axe leaning up against the stone hearth, is a fairly slender for a dwarf, obviously, sitting in the thing. He has a pewter mug, and he's just kind of down looking into it. He's got a gray and black beard, thick black, almost brown hair. It doesn't look natural. All the three of you can tell that. And besides him, you see across the room is another, what you would gather, another serving woman, and then a large dwarf-like man. If he wasn't over 6 feet tall, you'd say he was definitely a dwarf. He's got scraggly black hair, a thick black beard. He has a large scar that runs down from the upper part of his left eye all the way down his cheek. You see he kind of moves along the bar as he's doing the typical barkeep thing where he's cleaning a glass or a mug, and he's kind of walking, and when he sees you entering, he's like, "Oh, travelers, welcome to the Dancing Demon Inn. How can I help you?"
Hildemar doesn't wait for any of the Aasimar to speak to anybody below their stature, so he just staddles up to the bar. And are the stools difficult to get on for someone of my height, or does it seem they had doors?
Surprisingly, there's no standardized size. You could easily just shuffle around the stools to find one that fits your size.
Yeah, he kind of grabs a shorter stool from another table and just drags it over in front of the bar, hops a seat, puts a coin up on the table, and says, "How was the harvest?"
Well, well met, good dwarf. The harvest was good. Not, to be honest, I don't really know. I run the inn. We buy our stuff from the local farms.
Fair enough.
But those lads over there, you could inquire with them.
If the harvest was good, he taps his gold coin. "I'll take a whiskey."
Sure, of course. He kind of looks down at the gold coin. You don't know if maybe he's looking at the face of the coin to see where it's minted, but he kind of just slides it towards himself, and then he goes over and he begins filling a mug. Over his shoulder, he's like, Sirs, what do you want, lords? Do you want whiskey too?
Nothing. I will stay with my friend and ensure he does not get too drunk.
Huh.
How long has this establishment been here?
You see there's kind of an odd silence that takes over the end. There wasn't a lot of talking. There was like slight murmuring, mostly coming from the three men and the two women. That is stopped as they're just staring at the two Azamir that are just standing there, kind of sort of in the middle of the inn behind the gregarious dwarf who's at the bar. But well, we've been established for 5 weeks now. We managed to get her up before the winter. You're sure you don't want something? Water, perhaps? You've been traveling?
I am fine. My purpose is not to drink. It is to watch.
Right. Are you gonna be staying here? And with that, he looks both at like Hildemar and crap. I forgot. What's your name, Clay? Axis. Sorry, Axis. Yeah. I looked down. I saw Poe under his name, but that's not.
No. At this point in time, Val would be growing frustrated with the conversation, knowing that the reasoning for why he asked this question should be quite obvious to everybody. But since he's so aloof socially, he would just look at Axis and the dwarf and he would say,
I'm bored. I will sit down here and we will make care that our short friend does not start another fight.
That is good, my friend.
Hildemar motions to a stool next to him. Axis, have a seat. I'll buy you a drink. And don't mind him. He's more of a shadow in this group. You got any music that anybody plays around here?
No. You see the innkeeper looks kind of taken aback. He's not really sure how to respond or to react. He's not even sure why you're here. But he does look at you directly, Hildemar, and we don't. We don't have a minstrel that we haven't hired anyone yet. Anyways, sometimes one of my daughters, and he kind of motions towards the three different women. One of my daughters tends to. Well, they'll sing or entertain in some ways.
Oh, it's fine. I wasn't meaning anything by it. I just like to drown out Mr. Negativity back there. Axis, what will you have to drink?
I will take ale, my good friend. And like a dandy, he'll sit down quite daintily.
Hildemar pulls out another gold coin and goes, make it a stiff ale for our friend.
The barkeeper once again looks at the coin. He's like, my lord, are you staying here? You're giving me not that I'm against taking money, but I don't want to take your money if it just seems like you're giving me too much.
Is there something wrong with the dwarf's money?
No. I'm no, of course not. Your money is good here. I serve, and he points off towards the other dwarf in the corner. I have no problem with these shorter folk. I mean, I don't mean short. I mean like less tall. No, I apologize, Lord. My name is Torrid Maximilian. I created this inn with my wife and daughters, and you gotta understand. I wasn't. I'm not much of an innkeeper. I don't even know what the hell I'm doing here. I just kind of sit back here and try to pour the beers without spilling them.
Now,
I apologize.
I don't know much about business, but when somebody gives you money, just accept it. Maybe use it towards saving up for a nice minstrel or something.
Oh, of course. Thank you. Good dwarf.
I would also like to make a roll. I'm going to lean in, and I'm kind of looking at the dandy as I do so, and I would like to make I don't know, a stealth check or something to whisper to the bartender that he's going to give his friend a whiskey, not an ale.
Okay.
So, do you want me to make a roll for that, or?
No, you can whisper it. I don't know how perceptive Axis is. He can tell. He can decide whether he wants to listen in.
No,
or...
he's a little disgusted by the dirt and filth, but he's too good and noble to complain about it.
Yeah,
Val
so
will
like,
roll perception if he can.
Sure.
oh, no.
Val wants to hear this if possible. All right, so let me make sure I look up. This is all new to me, so favor. Oh, so it's 20 minus 1. Okay. So here we go.
Chat, I know you can't see the dice. I rolled a 1.
Yeah, I rolled a 4.
My total is 2.
Oh my god.
So I think what happens is Hildemar leans forward and goes, "Whiskey for the stuck-up one." And he thinks he's being quiet, but he's not.
No, it's fairly loud. And perhaps even Val, though, overhearing it, maybe even thinks that you're talking about him, because he's rolled so low on the 2 rolls. But either way, the innkeeper does pour an ale and a whiskey and gives them both to Axis.
Hildemar, not wanting him to have a whiskey or an ale as one of his options, leans forward and goes, "I paid for it," and just drinks the ale so that all Axis has is the whiskey.
Axis will turn to Val and says, "It's quite interesting that our dwarven friend does not know how to count," as he looks at the 2 and the 1, and he's left with the whiskey that this gentleman ordered. "It is okay then," and he'll drink it himself.
Yes, his mouth is astounding.
He spins on the stool and faces Val and just goes, before finishing off the rest of the ale, foam dribbling over his stale, unconditioned beard.
Val just you would see Val just he has this point in time he has like his black leather boots up on the table, just leaning back, watching the dwarf just slobber and make a mess of himself, and then watching his fellow Aasimar just drink the whiskey, and then he will just whisper to himself. They could choose to roll perception if not, but he would just whisper to himself, "Fools."
I've been traveling with you for quite some time that I don't actually have to hear that. I see you mouth the word fools and the condescending look in your eyes, and I'm like, yep.
Axis is oblivious to it.
So, excuse me, good dwarf. I assume that this is your group and you're leading them.
Of
are
course.
you planning on?
Look
Are
at
you?
them. You know.
Of course. Are you? Are you staying here? Will you be staying the night or several nights?
I wouldn't mind the rest, but I don't know if you have any noble accommodations good enough for these 2.
Well, I assure you that our rooms are brand new and they're modest, but they are clean.
You're that clean, he says back to Val really loud. Clean,
And he'll
no
wipe the
rooms.
dirt across the table.
It's about time.
Clean.
Listen,
Right.
these princesses are going to need a room to sleep, and I will too, and I'll pay you handsomely for it. In the meantime, I like to keep these 2 active so that they don't yelp about your place through the town square. You know, you want to keep that business up. So, do you have any work we need to do? Anything that we can get We've been in a wagon for a very long time.
Well, no, my lord. We take care of everything. That's what you would be paying for if you stayed here.
Haven't had any trouble?
Nah, none
He
that I
just
know.
spins on a stool and looks over and goes, "Yep, you're right, boring." Downs his whiskey. And it's like, "We'll take 3 rooms."
3 rooms? Oh, well, of course. One of them would have to be the, as my wife says, it would be the suite. It would be the nicer of the rooms, if that's okay.
I will take that. Thank you.
Right. And how do you plan on paying for this? Gold or?
Hildemar, even though he's a ranger and he spends most of his time in the wild, he never has to spend his money, so he always seems to have a lot of it. But at the same time, he doesn't have a lot of it coming in. So he always jiggles his coins so it sounds like he's wealthier than he is. And he says, "How much is it for the suite and the 2 normal rooms?"
Uh, for one night and 2 meals. Comes with the rooms, of course. We're just charging simply a gold piece for the regular rooms and a gold and a silver for the suite at the moment.
All right. And he counts out 3 gold and a silver and slides it over to the barkeep. You can tell by the way he slides it across the table that he's been in a lot of places where he doesn't trust the sneaky hands of some of the patrons, so he waits until it gets right in front of the bartender before removing his hand off the gold.
Val would say at this point in time,
Why do you distrust him now?
What do you mean?
He has been an honest keep and seems quite hesitant.
No. And then he like mutters foreigners under his breath. He's like, "Old habits. I meant no offense," he tells the barkeep.
The barkeep, having not even noticed, he just assumed you like to push the coins, grabs them, and probably not even really even hailing Vale, as he just seems excited to get any gold at all coming in. He scoops it off into his hand, and you hear him drop it into a small tin or something on the other side of the bar, where it makes a clanking sound, an empty clanking sound, as it's probably the first coins that have entered that can. Off to his right, he points to the young serving girl off to the right, and he says, "Kara, bring these men to their rooms and get them set up. Do it quick and come back down." You see she turns. Her, as you kind of notice that her and apparently her sisters, the other 2 women that are here that you can see, all have a certain familiarity look to them. They're all about 5.5 feet tall. They'll have slight features, fairly attractive, very strong bodies, not too muscular, but they definitely look like they do work, physical work. You notice that they're all wearing very similar, and they're all wearing the same, like a brown working wool dress with a green vest over it, which you've just now kind of concluded that you notice that the innkeeper is also wearing a green vest. Perhaps that is the inn colors. That seems to match them for who they are. You notice that the one that named Kara, as she comes over, she has long waist-length black hair that just kind of just falls all around her. But then as you're looking at her sisters, who seem to all have a very similar face, perhaps they're triplets, but one of them has red hair and the other one has blonde hair. And they all just, they continue talking to the 3 men over in the corner. But Kara comes up to you and says, "My lords, would you like us to bring you up to the rooms now?"
Have they been cleaned, swept?
"Oh, I guarantee I've swept them and cleaned them myself this morning. I even changed the linens."
Yes. Take us to our rooms.
You notice that having gained the attention of Axis, she sort of moves closer to him. And then she kind of touches your arm, Axis, as she walks by. "Follow me."
His chest will inflate, as it always does once he's got the eyes of others on him. And he'll strode over there.
Okay. The other 2, you guys going to follow to go up to the rooms? Or
Val will stand up and he'd look at the dwarf and then look at the Aasimar dealing with the woman. And then he would turn to his dwarven friend and he would say, "Come, Hildemar."
Come, Hildemar. My associate seems to be fleeing towards the guarantees of young women.
All right. Hang on a minute. And he kind of makes sure that there's nothing left in his glass and then looks over at the whiskey glass that the Aasimar was drinking. Did you drink it all, Axis?
No, there's probably he just probably dipped it onto his lips and put it down.
Yeah, he shrugs his loss and downs it. And quite satisfied, he starts strolling over to the two of his partners and makes his way for the bedrooms.
Okay. So as you guys head off to the right side of the inn, you notice that there's a large staircase. It's kind of a square staircase that goes up to a landing and then spins and goes back up. And then basically you got to go around in a circle. It's a cheap man's spiral staircase since they didn't have the money to put a true one in. As you go up the staircase, she leads you down a short corridor that goes about 20 feet. You see she passes 2 doors on her left, which probably go to smaller rooms as they seem to be only about maybe 15 feet across from each other. And she brings you up to what considered a main room. She goes over and she opens it. You see it opens up into a large room. It's about 20 feet by 15 feet. There's a large bed in the room, as well as you notice the hearth that comes up, fireplace that comes up from the first floor is in this corner as well. So this suite has its own fireplace. You notice that there's also a desk, chairs, a small wardrobe, and a chest to put items in. She kind of opens the door, letting you look into it, and she says, "This is the suite. I don't know which one of you is going to have it." And then she kind of looks at Axis. "This seems to be something that you might like."
Yes, thank you. He'll bow low, sweep his cape behind him. He'll pose right in front of her for a moment, and then he'll stroll inside.
She smiles at you, sort of blushes as she notices that Hildemar and Val specifically are just kind of staring at her. She says, "If you need anything, turn down service or anything, you can just let me know, and I can help you." And with that laugh, she moves to the next one, and this is the next room. This would be not the suite, but this is one of our other larger rooms. And she opens it, and you see that it is like the other room. It's slightly smaller. It does have a desk, a wardrobe, as well as a chest, and a smaller bed. There's also a window, but there's no fire pit or a fireplace that comes up through this one, as it's not attached to the main 3 hearths that come up. And this room?
Val will bow to Hildemar, and he would say,
"Please, you can take this one as well."
Hildemar bows almost sarcastically and says, "Oh, thank you, fine sir," and walks up to the girl. "And what about me? Do I get any services at my beck and call?"
"Oh, of course, my lord. If you need turn down services, either my mother or one of my sisters would definitely come down and
All right, you let me go. And then he just walks right into the bar.
Comfortable.
Right into the room.
Right, of course. She turns towards Val. "My lord, this way," and she walks down to the next. She passes the door on the right, but she brings you to the next door on the left. So you basically have 3 doors in a row. She opens it, and surprisingly, you're expecting to see maybe a similar room to the one that Hildemar had entered, but in fact, you see a identical room to the one that was given to Axis, except it's on the other side of the inn. So this one attaches to the other hearth that comes up from downstairs up. So it has its own fireplace, a large bed. There's even, like the other room, has a dormer window where you can actually sit and look out over the area if you want. That goes out to the front of the inn. And this is for you.
This window will look out the front of the inn, is that correct?
he would walk there.
Yes, my lord, it does. When you get up there, you can see that it does show the front. And as you're looking, you actually see the innkeeper outside lighting the lanterns that go on the front of the thing as it's starting to become dark now.
Are the horses still tied down up front?
Your horses, there were no horses in the front when you drove up. Your wagon was taken off to the barn.
Right.
And you don't see anything outside. No signs of them, but they could be in the barn by now, out of sight.
So I'm assuming that their windows face the barn.
No. All 3 of your rooms all have a window facing the front.
Okay. No
Yeah. Think of Hildemar's room in the center, and that would be
okay.
doors. You are on the right side, and Axis is on the left side.
He'd look at the woman. He'd look at the woman and say,
This is exactly what you believe.
Okay. If you need, okay. And she just walks away rather quickly down the hallway. And as she's walking, she kind of says out loud, since none of the doors are closed, but just kind of loudly, dinner will be in half an hour. If you're looking, I think we have stew. Anyways, and as she passes Axe's room, she stops and says, my lord, if you want, I can bring the food to you.
He'll step forward, and that would be most pleasurable. Thank you.
She smiles, and with her cheeks reddening, she turns and she goes downstairs. So what are the three of you going to do at this point? You're in your own rooms. You can go back downstairs. You can examine the rooms. You can store your gear. You can do whatever you
want. If you guys don't mind, I think Hildemar would take off right away. He wants to go hunting. He's craving rabbit. And he's been trapped in that wagon. They were making time on that road, so they didn't really have any time to hunt. The food was already provided by Chet, and he just hasn't really, even though he's been on the road, he hasn't really been one with nature in a while. So he just kind of wants to go on an evening hunt and take advantage of that before the critters go to sleep.
And I'm assuming that if it's all right with Axis, but I'm assuming that Val and the dwarf would kind of like see eye to eye on this because he needs to quench his thirst for blood. So this is something after they've been traveling all these years that there's an understanding that hunting just needs to happen at some point in time. So you would see Val come out of the room once the maiden leaves downstairs after she called for dinner. He would come up to the dwarf's room and he would say,
"Is it time?"
Yeah, Hildemar opens up the door and goes, oh yeah, come in, and brings him over to a small table with this sketched map that he had made on some hide of what he noticed in the last couple hours before they stopped. I noticed some birds flying up from the trees to the west of the road. My inclination is there might be a lake or some sort of pond there that might be a good place for us to stalk. At least find some muddy prints and track the buggers back to their homes.
Val would be listening in knowledge and become excited at the premise that there was a good hunt near. But he would also be looking out the door to see if Axis was on his way forward toward the dwarves' room. Does he see Axis come out of the room?
He does. Axis will come after he has neatly put away his kit and everything else. He's still armored up and ready to rock. There is evil everywhere, and he reminds you of that at all times. But he'll pop up in the doorway.
Val would see Axis. Then he would look back to the dwarf and say,
"Did you see any scavengers flying out, vultures? Anything eating carrion?"
I actually, DM, I'd like to make a perception check or a survival check because I think I would have looked for any kind of scavenging type birds of prey.
Yeah, you don't even have to roll. When you were traveling along the ways, the last 40 miles of the trip has been all open fields. You pass through what is called the Devil's Graveyard, which is where 2 battles was fought between the gods Midnight and the god Tyr. Their armies clashed, and there were so many dead covering the land that they were buried right where they fell. The entire area is considered a graveyard. No trees, no nothing like that. There's no carrion birds because it's happened hundreds of years ago. But you do see the game is so plentiful, especially small game. You could get anything from quail to rabbit to even bigger things like foxes or coyotes that would jack them down.
Hildemar basically informs them of what he's seen, and also the quantities of what he's seen, but then points to the battlefields. How far of a walk is that from here?
Going by the map and from what you know of the area and from what you know of the, of your skill at the type of area, you would say that you are smack dab in the center of the death, as it covers close to 100 miles of graveyards.
Excellent. He actually turns toward Val. He says, honestly, this is kind of sacred ground. I don't imagine a lot of people local to the area hunt out here, considering it's a battlefield. But truth be told, you may find yourself kindred to the violence that has sought this land previously. It might even be wise to take our paladin friend here with us, just in case. There's a reason why the animals are bountiful and the people don't hunt for them.
Val would walk to the window inside the dwarves' room, push the curtain to the side, and a little bit of sun would drip on the side of his cheek. He'd look at the land that the dwarf was talking about, and he would say,
Only sacred to some.
and he'd turn around and look at Axis when he says that.
My lord is ever present here, but let us do what you guys need to do. I will pray later.
Yeah. I already have a pamphlet, Father. Thank you. All right, are you guys ready to go?
I am ready.
Excellent. Maybe we could bring something back, a little nice for the family who works this place. Hey, Axis. And he kind of elbows him. Playfully.
He's oblivious to it. He knows he's a magnet, and he's oblivious to it.
Maybe we could bring back a nice piece of pelt for you and that servant girl.
I am not courting her at the moment, but if you wish to do so, that would be a good gift you could give her.
Oh, yes, maybe my bishop will get a visit. Anyway, let's go. Before the sun completely blacks out and we are surrounded by the shade of night.
So the three of you make your way down the stairs. You go down the short corridor and downstairs. As you approach into the main lobby room, the noise in it is still that dull kind of sound of just slightly people whispered talking amongst each other. You see the three men and the two women, the two younger girls, the daughters of Torrid, still talking. The dwarf is still in the corner by himself looking at his mug of ale as if it's the last mug of ale he'll ever have. And you see Torrid is standing next to Kara, except standing next to him is a slightly older, maybe a woman in her mid-30s, maybe, with shoulder length, red hair. You could see the resemblance to Torrid's daughters, as she looks just like them, except slightly older. Still beautiful, still statuesque. And she's standing next to Torrid, and they seem to be discussing something. Torrid looks up. Oh, my lords, did you want to eat dinner?
Hildemar kind of gruffly clears his throat, but as politely as a hill dwarf in a nice place can put it. He says, no thank you. We're going to take a stroll. It's been a long ride, but if there's any cold leftovers by the time we get back, I'll happy to take you on that.
No, of course. I'm sure my wife will keep it warm. We try to keep it just in case people come in later. Please hurry back. Well, perhaps you don't need protecting, but there can be dangers at night. Not uncommon for sometimes the undead to move about. Nothing you can't handle.
Val would raise an eyebrow to that and look at Axis.
Undead, you say? And it is good that we are going to go on a slight trip, he'll say with a smile. Shall we go, gentlemen?
Hildemar kind of rushes him in for an adventure huddle. And he gets ready, but it's two really tall Aasimar and one really short dwarf. I knew something like this was up. Oh, I could smell it on the wind. Listen, we need scuttlebutt. That's what we need. So, Axis, why don't you go around and start asking about the undead? Maybe looking at some of the people who look a little holier than thou. Your type, you should be able to smell them. And then he turns over to Val and he goes, Val, I want you to intimidate the hell out of the toughest warriors and see what kind of information you can get. Maybe we can find out a little more before we venture out so that we know exactly what we're looking for.
Val would make a break for the bar and go to the keep.
Okay. Yeah. You approach. You see that the woman that's standing next to Torrid kind of turns and with a beautiful bright smile, she's like, "Ooh, wow, you look different."
Well met. I'm assuming you are the wife of the barkeep.
I am. My name is Mero. And you met my husband Torrid? You are?
I am Val, and I am here to inquire as to your knowledge of why there are undead in the area.
No, it's really nothing that's that important. We all know that anyone who lives near the Devil's Graveyard, it is bound to be some undead to come up. Not all spirits are resting. We've built the inn to withstand that type of thing. Our doors are reinforced. Our walls are solid. And to be honest, and she kind of looks over at Torrid, kind of beaming in his direction. She's like, and my husband he's quite the fighter. He's been able to take out anything that seems to be a danger to us. To be honest.
Your husband spoke of you as if you are the thinker.
Well, I mean, that's kind of him to say. It's my place to just, do as he says, not really think for myself. But yeah, I handle all the monies.
He would lean low into her and he would say, "Woman, when do the undead hunt?"
Sounded like an imp in the background. No, she smiles and says, the smile kind of fades as it seems to be more of a forced smile when she talks about it, but she continues to keep an amicable smile attitude towards you. Well, they usually come out at night, but sometimes they'll travel during the day. Nothing too aggressive or awful. I mean, the occasional zombie, perhaps, or some animated skeleton. Nothing that we're not used to here. I mean, that's how we got the inn so cheap. The land here is very cheap to buy. I mean, I wouldn't have come out here by myself if it wasn't for my husband, Torrid.
What time of day is it?
It's right now, the sun is probably setting. It's getting towards night.
I thank you for the information you have given me, and we will return, but until then, I ask you to hold the thing.
I'm sorry, would you say, Andre? I got Hildemar sneeze.
We will return, but prior to that, I ask you to hold one thing.
Of course, we can store anything you need to hold.
He would reach into a pouch and he would bring out a black coin with a raven on it on both sides. And then he would give the coin to her and he would say,
"This must not leave this establishment until I return. Are we clear?"
Oh, of course. We can hold this for you. We can lock it up. That's free of charge, too, of course.
No. Keep it behind the bar. Do not lock it up.
She looks at it.
Superstition, if you will.
Well, okay. I mean, she takes it, holds it for a couple seconds, kind of flips it over. Interesting.
It's extremely heavy.
It is.
Yeah, it's really heavy.
It's a beautiful design, of course. Yeah, of course. And you see she reaches under the bar, placing it down. Is there anything else?
No. You have provided me with all of the answers I need, and I thank you for your time.
He would spin on his heels and walk directly to Axis, and he would say,
"The dead come out at night as usual. There are no unusual disturbances, and they are infrequent and small numbers. They are not hunting in this area. I'm assuming that is why they built the inn here. We will have to go deep to get a large number of undead to be able to deal with the kill. And most likely, a larger number of undead will be where more life is."
and he'd look directly at the dwarf.
"And if we are to hunt well, we must go with a large quantity of undead."
Andre, just so you know, when you're if you talk a lot, make sure you talk louder. You kind of bled the echoes bled a little bit for some of that. I'm sure some people didn't hear everything.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
Hildemar hears the Val talking and turns on his heel. One thing first. And looks at the solitary dwarf that is staring at his ale as if it was the last ale he would ever drink, and thinks to himself, now that is an image that's not right. And he crosses over there. Hey! That's all he says.
He just says, hey.
Yeah, he's like, hey!
You kind of hear a, fuck off.
Ah, fuck you! Is this seat taken? And he points at the empty seat across from him.
Fuck yeah, it is. And he kind of kicks it open.
Oh, good. Hopefully they don't return before I'm done. And I take the seat, scoot in. You want another drink?
He kind of looks at his mug. Really? You have to ask.
Well, you're just kind of picking at that piss ale. You want some whiskey?
If you're buying, I'm drinking.
He holds up 2 gold. Barkeep, as much whiskey as 2 gold will buy.
We're never gonna fucking leave.
Tord kind of waves in your direction. You see he pours some, and then you notice that he hands it off to Kara, who carries them over and places them on the table. You notice that she seems to go the longest way around the room to make sure she passes by Axis and sort of brushes against them as she moves along and hands you the whiskeys.
Yeah, I kind of look at her. Oh, you're lucky we have a long lifetime. That took forever. Here's a tip.
I'm sorry, my lord.
He holds up a silver coin. Here's a tip. You can take it. But again, does that thing where he doesn't release the coin and he's like...
Yeah, he pulls at it.
Listen, Axel is about as boring, or Axis, sorry, is about as boring as drinking pond water before you boil it. So be careful.
Thank you, my lord. I appreciate it. With that, she takes it, and then once again, she walks the long way around, smiling at Axis as she passes, brushing his arm, and then she continues back over to the bar.
Where's your weapon? He says to the dwarf, and slides
he kind of
over whiskey.
Tilts his head ever so slightly. You see the battle axe leaning against the wall. He looks back at you. Really?
He looks at it. Does it look new? Does it look like it's been used?
It looks old, but in well condition, like someone's taking care of it. But at the same time, it looks like it probably hasn't been used in quite a while. It doesn't have that look of blood soakedness that you would normally see.
So this is either the look of boredom, the look of somebody who has lost someone recently, somebody who's lost a bet, or it's that look that you're hoping somebody comes by and asks you what's going on so that you can tell us what you need help with. It's one of those.
Or it's that I'm fucking bored. Completely.
Shit, that's what I was afraid of. There's nothing going on around here, is there?
No. What's your clan? Where you from?
Hildorf. And he pulls down his sleeve. Mokda clan.
That's cool. He smiles. You get the smell of the forest about you. And he kind of pulls down the edge of his shirt, and he's like, steel mantles, Balearic steel mantles, trader by profession.
Excellent. You looking to sell anything interesting?
I do. In the morning, I'll kind of have all my stuff ready if you, and he kind of motions towards the Azamars, and your friends there are looking to buy some stuff, and no one else has been.
Sounds good.
Get you a good deal. And
Enjoy the whiskey.
He holds the whiskey up and downs it.
I don't even drink mine. I just leave it for him, and I cross over the other to my compatriots. We can leave. I don't think it's anything we have to worry about, but everyone here is so bored. And there's undead and a battlefield nearby. Doesn't that seem odd to you two?
They are quite comfortable with their surroundings, that is true.
Almost too comfortable.
There is nothing wrong with that. But let us go.
Are you
Aren't here
comfortable?
to hunt?
Do you enjoy your suite? You find nothing wrong with it?
It is not as clean as they say, but one must make do with hardship.
That's the weirdest thing, though. These people are content. They seem like nothing's bothering them. I don't know. I've never had that feeling before. It just is unnerving. Maybe it's because I'm hanging out with you too much. He motions to Val.
Don't blame me because you don't know what's going on.
Bah.
Look, we must leave. If we do not hunt soon, we'll be preoccupied with the undead and will not be able to heal anything.
That's true.
And I must feel my blade with blood tonight. So, if you, gentlemen, do not mind, let's carry the fuck home.
Hildemar nods. All right. Let me get my bearings. I'll go check around. And the first thing that Hildemar is going to do, knowing that we're in kind of a grassy plains, I assume there's, little copses of trees around. He's going to try to look at the long grass along the road and see if there's been any deer or other wildlife that may have crossed the road when no one was looking and have disturbed some of the foliage.
So as you, and I'm going to assume the Azamars follow you outside at least, just to keep the group together. As you all exit the inn, the first thing you notice is that there's a slight cool breeze. Now that the sun is starting to really set, the cooler, crisp air of this fall day is striking. And as you're making your way, Hildemar, across the road to look at the tall grasses along the edge, you notice the first of many snowflakes that begin to fall. The air around you becomes kind of silent. As anyone who's ever been in the snow knows that when it starts to snow, it gives you an eerie quietness that seems to follow it as everything seems to get silent for a little while. When you examine the grasses, do you want to do something before that?
I was gonna see if I could make a survival check to garner. Not only am I looking for animals in the disturbed grasses, but I'm also kind of seeing if there's been recent signs of human traffic in these grasses as well, because I don't really imagine many of the humans would travel through the fields. We have a perfectly good King's Road here. I would think that if there is a lot of human activity, I mean, they did mention that the bar was built to defend against the undead, so I'm trying to evaluate two things. Where are the animals, and do we have to worry about any undead this close?
So to give you a quick idea of the outside, you're about maybe 50 feet from the road to the inn itself. On the other side, there is a field. The grasses on that side are very thick and heavy, though not oppressively. They stand maybe a foot and a half tall, but they're pretty thick. There are paths that go in and out of them, as someone perhaps maybe made trips through them, but nothing that says, hey, this is traveled all the time. You do notice the road has a lot of travel sign to it. The remnants of the ancient bricks that were laid down thousands of years ago are still slightly there and can be seen in different patches through the clay and sand that's been placed down to cover it. Off towards the barn, you can see the barn doors are open still, and there's a light coming from in there. Probably Chet and the stable boy probably still dealing with the horses, brushing them down, dealing with that. You could see from where you are looking into the back of the inn, you can see where the outhouse is, which is probably about another 20 feet from the back side door that was part of the inn. You know that on the back side, there's also a well back there between the outhouse and the inn itself. The inn, after you're outside and looking at it, is sort of L-shaped. It looks like behind the bar from the inside, there's a kitchen, which you can't see because it's on the other side of the bar. So it's that's what the L shape sticks out. As far as game trails, you easily find trails for rabbits, for skunks, for all types of small animals in the area. Easily within your ability to probably shoot from the road as dusk, right before sunsets, they come out. They go to the edge and get the clean, crisp grass that's been cut on the edges of the road, just standing there, oblivious to you. You're guessing you're right that nobody really hunts them, as much probably because they have their own stock of animals that they take care
of. I believe at this point, Hildemar is going to take a step away from the others. And he kind of sometimes does this where he goes out and samples the soils and stuff, and everybody assumes he's tracking. But he's actually going to use a spell. He's going to use Primeval Awareness. As an action, you can expend 1 ranger spell slot to sense whether any aberrations, celestials, dragons, elementals, fae, fiends, or undead are present within 1 mile of you, and within up to 6 miles if it's your favorite terrain. And since I am a hill dwarf, I assume these plains are kind of my jam.
Okay.
So I just want to use that to see if I get any sense that within 6 miles, if there are any undead. I don't need to know how many or where.
Yeah, your ranger spider sense is going off. That tells you there are something. There's undead or aberrations or fiends or something in the area.
Excellent. All right. I think with that, I would turn around and move back towards the group and motion towards where I spotted the wildlife. We can go for an easy hunt or we can go for a difficult one. You just need blood, right?
Correct. I'm not picky.
Keep your chin up, Axis. There are definitely undead around here.
Always. Shall we go?
Any motions towards where he saw the wildlife?
Sure. So you move about maybe 50 yards or so. Just for speed, you can easily capture either dead or alive, any rabbit or whatever small game you can think of, whatever you choose. You're competent fighters and warriors and spellcasters. There's nothing that, besides the undead, probably that could even phase you at all. So you can choose to sacrifice or take any type of animal that you want.
Actually,
describe it
Hildemar's
any way you want.
He's going to describe to, or he's going to ask Val what he would prefer. Does he need something like a deer or an elk? Or is he satisfied with a rabbit? Can it be small? Yes, Val.
I think it would have to be, like, you guys have traveled so much that it has to be a major kill.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it has to, Val's not looking to kill some rabbits and go back and be like, got blood, let's go. He wants a greater elk to fall.
Okay, with that, DM, I'd like to make a survival roll because I am tracking specifically either greater elk or boar. Boar are very dangerous, and I'll take a boar.
Sure. Yep. Fire it away.
All right, let's do this in our little roller here. Does anyone else have survival trained at all?
Checking.
Because then I could get advantage if you help me out.
Yes, I am trained in survival, so you can gain the advantages as I assist you.
Excellent. Okay.
And
so
of course, all the times that you guys have hunted together over the past 3 or 4 years you've been together, you kind of work together as a team.
Yeah, Axis would probably see us surveying together, and I would be looking high, and the ranger would be looking low.
I imagine this also would be the only time in D&D ever that it's appropriate that we have developed some hand signals.
Right.
Ahead of time.
Yeah,
like we're actually using stuff that we've used in the past. Highest roll was 17 to track either boar or large elk.
Yeah, so first, immediately you notice that there are a lot of large game in the area. With no hunting and so much grassland, it's super plentiful. You do pick up the scent of what would be probably a small wallow, maybe about a mile away. You'd guess by the tracks of the boar that are heading there, which you can easily travel there right now, probably within the next 10 minutes, 20 minutes to get there.
With us being a mile away, I don't have to worry about sound too much. So I kind of raise my hand and motion for the others and kind of give a quiet whistle. I can't whistle in real life, sorry.
Yep, that's fine.
And
as you move along, it's fairly quick. It starts to get dark But I mean, you have dark vision. All three of you have dark vision, so it's not that hard to see. And it's not completely dark, as even though it's snowing, the moon is out and it's fairly bright, so it's giving you enough light to see regardless. And you're traveling, and there's no exterior light sources to blind you, so you can actually see fairly well. It takes you maybe an hour and 15 minutes before you get to the point where you think you can set up to hunt the boar. How in general, how are you going to do it? Are you going to shoot them? Are you going to pick one off? Are you going to, you know that there's going to be a bunch of them together?
He motions to Val. You need them close?
I think what Val they would have developed a technique where they lure the game into a small pathway or crevasse, and then Val would cast darkness on them, and in their hurry to rush out, then the dwarf would snipe them on the way out.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, like a Thermopylae kind of situation. So what I want to do is I want to aim for, I'm not a baby killer, but I want to aim for that boar that is just barely old enough to be hunted legally, because boars are very familial, you know. So I don't want to go after the big boar and have the other ones run in fear. I want to go after one of the younger ones so that the boars get mad. And I'm going to stand next to Val when I do it, and then rotate to get a high ground.
If he does that, then I won't cast darkness, and I'll let the young one lead the larger ones out towards the narrowed path, because it would make no sense for it to be dark, and then I would just ready my sword, just in case one slips by. And then I'd look at Axis. What is Axis doing?
He's actually going to protect Val and the other, just in case something goes wrong. He's there to supervise.
Yeah, so with a loud squeal and an amazingly large stampede of piglets and pigs and massive boars charging you, I'm not going to have you roll or have to deal with anything. You manage to lead one of the larger boars towards Val, who, with a deft stroke of his magically enhanced blade, slices it cleanly, knocking it down. There's a little bit of worry, as you know, you weren't expecting 15 boar to charge you, but you know, they kind of gore at you. You kind of either step out of the way or your armor absorbs it. This is nothing you haven't done a million times, being 7th level warriors. And the boar have no way of stopping you from killing them.
So Val would be proud that he got the kill. He would probably walk up to Hildemar and, you know, forearm shake him, and he would smile at Axis, and you would see that his eyes are glowing purplescent because he actually drained the soul while he was killing. You know, with the hex blade, he drained the soul with a critical hit out of the beast, and it went into his body.
What did that look like, Andre?
Okay, so
you should just describe that for us. That sounds like something that'd be cool.
So what would happen is, as the largest boar came, you know, running towards the small, Val would run top speed ahead to intercept it and move it to the left away from Hildemar. And when he did that, Hildemar would fire another bolt into the neck, almost killing it. And then he would just do a backflip and swipe the sword, decapitating the boar. And before he lands it on his feet, you would see the soul just go right into the body of the Aasimar. And when he would land, you'd see this purple smoke just go and he'd turn around and he would smile. You'd see almost fangs coming out of his teeth with a bright white ivory smile with purple glowing eyes. And he would immediately just rush back to the dwarf with smiling eyes, and they would just do what they usually do, is smack forearms together, and then he would say,
"That is how it's done. Well done, my friend."
Yeah, and I think at this point, whenever Hildemar gets excited from a successful hunt, he kind of reverts back to his dwarven. So he's like, "Malak Balafalon, Skinofa and then runs over to the body and dips his hands into the body and just takes 3 fingers and puts blood under his eyes, and then begins to start dressing the corpse, pulling its pelt off, and then pauses and goes, Axis, you want to get your hands dirty? Mike motions, waves the blade about.
You shouldn't play with your food, my friend. This whole encounter is kind of he's used to it, and he's gotten used to it, and he's the arguments have been there in the past couple of years, and he just kind of just shakes his head. He is still posing to the setting sun, but he just shakes his head. You shouldn't play with your food.
You say this as he's licking the blood off the knife and shrugs and continues to skin the boar and prep it. He's gonna wrap it with some the rope that he's got, the hempen rope, and just sling it over his. Oh wait, actually, could somebody carry this for me?
Yeah.
My strength is 11.
I'll carry it for you.
What's your strength?
It's an 11. Oh
No. Val's, yeah.
Val's is a 15.
Okay, so you're pretty strong. All right, yeah. So I mean, once you dress it and gut it and get it all ready to just take, you're gonna leave the head, I'm assuming.
no, I'm bringing that too.
Oh
Bring
no,
the head.
no,
That's
that
gonna be
head.
decoration. That's gonna be decoration for the inn above the hearth.
Yeah. So you tie up the pig corpse and the head.
Actually, chat did remind me. I will also go get the small pig that we killed in order to lure the big pig, because I don't believe in wasting anything. So I also dress that one and huff it over. And ironically, even though it's a little baby, probably Val and I are struggling at the same kind of.
Yeah. So you probably you have a smaller one, and he has the big 180-pound boar on his back carrying it along.
At this point, Hildemar walks up to Axis and says, "I'm not kidding either. You're very valuable. We need you, and the undead are near." And he's kind of looking around a little more nervously now than before. With the snow, you can't hear them coming. And then just kind of shrugs his shoulders and follows Val.
Axis will just kind of smile and follow behind the two of you.
So you're about 30 minutes into your travel back. You're having a lighthearted talk, at least as much as probably more Hildemar talking and Val and Axis doing their own thing, not talking and just staring at you. But you have a good conversation with the baby boar that you're carrying along, Hildemar. And it's maybe about 35 minutes into the walk, you feel the boar twitch.
I probably ignore it at first because I'm like, there's no way I didn't kill this and drain this. I'm just scared because of the undead, and I keep moving.
Yeah, you take maybe another 10, 15 steps, and it twitches again.
And I throw it as far away from me as I can, and I say, "Hold up!" and hold my fist up.
So you all see Hildemar spin and toss his killed boar into the woods. You hear it hits the ground, kind of goes off into the distance into the grass. You can't see it because it's small. It's not like it.
We're supposed to take a trophy with us. Why are you throwing it?
He pulls out 2 short swords. Put your boar down on the ground next to you.
Oh, Val gets it, and he drops the boar, takes his sword out, and he probably sends a hand signal that would be like inquiring whether it's north, south, east, or west, the direction that he's concerned about. And then he would look directly at Axis.
Hildemar points to the boar, seeing the hand signal. That little one. I drained it, I bled it, I skinned it, I prepped it. It had no guts. It moved on my back.
Axis, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Axis. I'd rather hear what you're going to do.
Axis will he's pretty hip on these signals as well. He'll look around, he'll mutter under his breath a small incantation to his lord, and he'll do divine sense.
Okay, so you immediately detect undead not only near you, directly in the direction that Hildemar pointed where he threw the baby boar, as well as you're detecting the undead at your feet, where you see that the massive boar that Val was carrying is slightly twitching, and the decapitated head is opening and closing as if it's squealing, but no sound is coming out of its mouth.
It seems we've captured some. And he'll continue to concentrate to open up his senses. I would kill it now again.
That is not possible. They did not turn undead while they were in our possession, did they?
I think
They are undead now.
As you're mid-conversation, you guys hear, and that little baby boar comes flying out of the woods, charging at Hildemar.
It is tied up.
Oh, it was tied up on your
Yeah.
thing? All right, so
Yeah,
you just
he
hear
was-
it screaming. You don't see it. Yeah, you just hear it screaming.
I want to
making
go
a-
investigate.
Yeah.
And I kind of like, all right, stay here. I'll be right back. And I didn't with the strength of 11, I don't imagine
No,
I
it didn't.
football
It
through it.
It didn't
through
go
the
that
forest,
far.
but
No, you could hear it.
I'm
yeah.
gonna walk up to it, and I want to see. I want to see things like: is its eyes glowing? Are there runes? I mean, it's gutted, so how is this even a thing? How is it moving? I'm gonna poke it with. I'm gonna do the dwarven investigation techniques and just poke it with my sword a little bit.
Yeah, of course. As you step, you don't, like you said, you don't have to step far. You maybe a couple steps into the thing. Val and Axis can still see you. They're still standing over the other boar, which is twitching. That's tied up as well, and the head is mouthing. It just keeps opening and closing. You notice the little one is on its side, making that sound, and then it's kind of like trying to gore at you, but it can't reach, even though it doesn't even have his little tiny baby tusks. It's like going at you. You see its open belly where you've cleaned it and dressed it is it's just flapping open, but it is animated.
I'm very curious about this, and I grab it by its snout and I lift it up and start bringing it back to them so that I can get some answers. Because when it comes to undead, I'm good at killing them, but I don't know anything about what powers them.
Yeah. So as you go to grab it by the snout, it snaps at you. So you kind of rechange it and grab it by the legs, back legs, so it can't snap at you, and then carry it out to the group. So now you're standing there with a tied up baby boar that's twitching all over the place.
It tried to bite me. Look, this shouldn't. And I kind of take my sword to show them that he's got no more. I've de-gutted him. He's got clean
you
pink.
can easily see
skin.
he's open. Yeah. You could use him as a pocketbook.
This should not.
A living pocketbook.
This should not happen. As if they don't know that.
Well, for one thing, I did take the soul of the other, so it was living. But then it turned undead while in our possession. There is no necromancer around, so perhaps this hallowed ground changed them.
He would look at Axis for any kind of, is that possible? Kind of look at Axis.
Axis knows that the ground was either consecrated or desecrated. He can't tell which one. He knows that something was done.
He'll inform the others to look around. I don't know if it's consecrated. I don't know if it has been purified. The battle was long ago, and it was it was a massive battle. I suggest we get back to the inn. We should kill these creatures and not take them with us.
Bullshit. We're taking at least one of them. I think the people in the inn have some explaining to do. I was wondering, who builds an inn out of a log cabin in the middle of the plains where there are no forests? And then they mention the undead attacking them.
They did build a large hearth for a purpose.
We could burn it.
We will not burn anything until we find out more. I do not feel that these people are evil or are deceiving us. It'd be evil to attack them with no probable cause, except for your piglet on your shoulder.
Yeah, Hildemar
Okay,
looks at
so this is the part where Val and Axis always get pissed at each other, and then he would like Val would turn and he would say,
Burning the bodies is not an evil act. It is merely survival.
We don't mean the bodies of the people in the tavern, we mean these.
Would you eat undead flesh?
No.
What is he talking about?
We are going to talk to the villager, or to the towns, or to the innkeeper about the undead here. But we should get back and destroy these things before we go. Even the little, and he looks at the other one and grinds his foot into the ground. Just stomp it out.
Right. But we will agree that the hearth must be used once we find out why they turned while in our possession. It will be used upon the undead, correct?
Are you trying to tell us you don't feel comfortable with us bringing these things back to the tavern?
Yes, that would be the right thing to say. Let's not bring undead things to
You are
bite
so
others or infect
socially
others.
awkward. It's ridiculous. Hildemar kind of tosses the small piglet down.
Now crush it.
So Val would be taking his sword and stabbing the undead pig in the head while he says, I don't understand why we cannot take them in.
And like an older adult talking down to a child who's having a temper tantrum, it is because these are undead. It is not customary to bring undead as offerings to your host who is treating you and providing shelter in this evil place, apparently.
And Hildemar looks at his bag, which is a little more swollen than the last time that they went out on hunting, and says, I absolutely agree, destroy the bodies. I understand what he's saying.
Val would surrender to the logic, not knowing what was behind the dwarf's logic. And he would think that the dwarves sided against him with the other Aasimar.
You know, Val, you're always picking on your brother.
Fine. We will hand it.
Axis doesn't believe he won so easily. Normally it takes a little longer to get through their thick skulls, and he doesn't buy this innocent act of the dwarf or the fallen Aasimar's buddy. And he just watches, and he'll walk behind them as we go to make sure that it's dead. And he'll crush the undead skull and the piglet down just to make sure it's done. And they actually did it, and they're not going to come back for it. Shall we go?
I assume I have no choice. Let us go with nothing.
Oh, we have this pelt.
Val would look at the dwarf.
Fine.
He still does not know that the dwarf has anything up his sleeve. He's absolutely unperceptive. Like he's really, if you look at my stats, he has very low passive percent and very low intelligence. So Val is just like, fine, you know, I'm just gonna go, and he surrenders to the decision.
So you destroy the boars. It takes a lot more hits than you'd expect for something that's that small, especially the baby. The larger boar, you're not even sure how to kill it. As you crush the skull, it breaks apart and then stops moving. Then you kind of have to continue on to smash the body.
We didn't crush the skull of the bigger boar. That is currently in my bag because I was.
Oh, that wasn't the one. All right, yeah, okay.
But I would build a fire, honestly. After we struggled with that, I would torch the bodies.
Okay, so you take some time and then probably just pull a torch out of your backpack. Might be easier just to do that to get the fire going.
Yeah.
And you burn them. You probably watch the fire, or are you going to leave it in the field?
I'm going to watch the bodies until they stop moving and then call it good, and we can turn around and leave.
Okay. Are you going to extinguish the fire?
No.
You're going to leave it in the dry field?
Well, I think what would happen is that I would actually, before building the fire, dig the grass out, and I don't think the fire would be very big. I think he's smart enough survival-wise for that. But at the same time, he's going to let it burn just in case that wasn't enough time, because the last thing we need is partially burnt headless boars running through the plains, lighting the place up.
Of course. Okay, so basically I was just trying to get how much time it was going to take you.
Yeah, I'd say probably 15,
you do a
20
good
minutes.
job, really. Yeah, you do a good job making the fire safe, digging the trench, and even lining it a little bit with some of the stones that you find around. There was a small stone wall that had fallen down that was there. You burn the bodies. After about 20 or 30 minutes of burning, they seem to stop twitching. They were mostly dead when you crushed them anyways, but the air fills up with the smell of bacon as the pigs are burning. Though I'm sure none of you want to eat it.
Now I'm just hungry. Actually,
Yeah.
Hildemar's really hungry now.
Yeah.
Like his stomach even just goes. Grrr.
Yeah. So maybe you probably figure about an hour and a half to 2 hours later, you begin your march back towards the inn. The sun has completely set now, and you hear sounds in the distance. You're not quite sure what it is, but it kind of travels on the wind every once in a while, a sort of moaning sound.
We didn't hear that at all when we were coming toward the Dancing Demon Inn, did we?
No.
Well, that's odd.
What? What is odd?
Listen.
Incomplete.
Listen. That sound. I didn't
I
hear
hear
that.
nothing.
Oh, Jesus. You know, if your
Low
guys'
passive perception.
yeah, if your guys' heads weren't always shoved so far up your own asses, you'd probably be able to be more... All right, just follow me. Trust me. We don't want... Let's just get to the inn, and I'll describe the sound to you once we're there.
So you backtrack along your path, pushing your way through the grasslands, which is fairly simple. I mean, you're literally just following the same path that you're already there. You get probably within, I don't know, probably about a couple 100 feet from the road, and you can start to see the tip of the inn. You can just make out the roof, and you can see the stacks of smoke coming out, the 3 stacks from the different fireplaces. You can also smell the smell of burning wood, as well as that sort of earthy, fresh cut wood smell that's been kind of prevalent in the area. But off in the distance, off to your right, that moaning sound that you've heard every once in a while seems to get slightly louder, and you kind of hear kind of this kind of a, and it comes on the wind, and it comes every like minute and a half. You kind of hit it. There's no pattern to it, but it seems to come and go. And sometimes it seems to come from the left, sometimes from the right. Seems to just kind of wave along.
Since Hildemar is the most perceptive, he just kind of quietly elbows the two of them. Says, "Listen, the fire, the hunting, the squealing pig. It may have attracted some attention from the undead. We need to get to the inn as fast as possible. I'm going to need you guys to make a sprint, but let me have a head start because I'm slower than you." And he just takes off running towards the inn.
He takes off running. That's classic dwarf.
He'll do a countdown. He knows how far he can get before he needs to start jogging along with him.
Yeah.
Shall we go? I think we've given him a head start enough for today.
Val would let Axis run ahead of him. And then as Axis runs toward the dwarf as he gave him ample distance, Val would whisper to himself as he starts to run.
Sure. Don't bring an undead back to the inn.
And as you say that, you guys continue on. You run really quickly, moving the last 100 feet or so without any problem. You hit the edge of the road, stop, look, to your left, to your right, expecting maybe to see some sort of shambling mound or something, but you don't see anything. You still hear that sound, though. You see that the lights in the front of the inn are still there, as you had seen Tord earlier hang up the 2 lanterns that are burning brightly, lighting up the front of the inn itself. You can also see that the lights in the barn are still on. The doors are still open. And as you approach, you could still just make out that sound, that kind of coming. This time it seems to come from behind the inn, as well as to the right and behind you. It always sounds like it's the same decibel. It doesn't seem like it changes in tone. It doesn't seem like it changes as if you're getting farther or closer to it. It just seems to be there. Whoa. Okay.
All right, sorry about that. I got disconnected. My internet dropped at my hotel. But
okay.
But we do have to pause momentarily. James, do you have to rearrange the windows as a result of me coming back in?
Oh, no, you're good. I can fix that right now. Done.
All right.
All right. Well, the DM is going to, as you enter the inn, the DM is going to take a break because he needs to take a bio break. So we'll be right back.
And I'm going to take coffee. Yeah, I need some coffee too.
Yeah,
so.
We'll take a 10-minute break. Or actually, let's make it 5 minutes because we did start.
Yeah,
a
it
little
should be
late. Let's
5
make
minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah, let's do
5-minute
5
break, everybody.
We'll be back.
We will be back. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying yourselves. Tune in and feel free to leave comments because we're all still on and we will chat it all up with you. Bye-bye.
Natural sprinter.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. We are back.
Dun dun dun. Welcome back to the Dancing Demon Inn, where you can eat people too. I mean, whoops, sorry, spoiler.
So I guess I'm the first one, or does Axis actually beat me back to the door?
I'll let him feel proud about himself and let him win. He'll
Yeah.
pull back after.
No. So right as Hildemar pushes the door open, Val, slightly after Axis arrives, you notice that the inn, everyone's just kind of standing there, almost in the same positions they were before. Just there's slight conversations off to the left with the group of 3 men and the 2 women. You notice that, except for when you come in, the dwarf is being served by the daughter named Kara, one with the jet black hair. You don't see Mero, but you do see Tord once again, and he kind of looks up and smiles, kind of just waves stupidly in your direction.
I warmly give him a smile back and hold up the pelt. Ah, success! And just kind of look at the others like, follow me. And I go over to the bar. So, everyone around here seems so bored, but you have the greatest hunting.
Oh, we don't really hunt, Master Dwarf. I get my meat from the farm. They have.
Oh no! I just mean there's no
cows.
reason for people to be bored. This place is a blast.
Oh, to be honest, I don't like killing things. My adventuring days are over, and you kind of like.
What about
as he
you,
said
fair
that,
dwarf?
Rubs
And
his
he
star.
interrupts him and calls over to the poor dwarf. You're so bored. Why don't you get out there in the wilderness? You might find some action.
You see the dwarf turns, smiles, and then flips you off, and then goes back to drinking.
Exactly. I would love to show you an artifact we found in the woods.
Sure, whatever you have, please show me.
Val turns his head slowly and smirks.
And I unclasp my bag and I pull the boar head out and slam it onto the table. Now, it's been cleaned up because I was intending on using it as a trophy. But I put it on the table and I'm like, ah! And is it moving still?
No, its mouth is still opening and closing as if it's squealing and trying to bite at you, but there's no musculature or anything. It can't move. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is clearly looking at you.
So I hold out my flint and steel and I move it back and forth in front of its eyes to show that the eyes track the sparks.
Oh, it's obviously, even if it wasn't looking at that directly, it seems to just, its eyes are going independently in different directions looking around, as if it's some sort of haywire animatronic. Just moving. Its tongue is now moving in and out of its mouth as if it's just trying to do stuff or you're trying to whine and nothing happens. Tord backs off. Well, at first he seemed almost okay with it. Like he's like, oh shit, you've got a boar. And then it's when it starts fucking moving. He's like, oh, get that out of here.
Oh, not yet, my friend.
Throw it in the fire.
Not yet. You, Sir Dwarf, come here. Take a look at this. So bored.
This is going to be interesting.
Sitting on your arse complaining about how bored you are. This was not even 30 minutes. Well, actually, it wouldn't be half an hour's travel from this establishment. And he picks it up by the tusk and then holds it up to the dwarf. Want to say hello? Explain this.
He kind of just stares at you, and you see his massive furry eyebrow just kind of goes up as he stares at you, and he shakes his head. And then you hear him mumble something in dwarfing about, as if I've never seen undead before.
Right. I kind of catch that because I speak Dwarvish. Only one problem. This wasn't undead. Normal boar. I hunted it. Turned undead after it died.
Tord kind of looks and kind of shakes his head. There's a few gasps as the younger serving women, his daughters, seem to kind of are all looking at it, but no one is approaching. No one wants to get fucking close to this thing. It's dead. They know it's undead. You don't mess with undead. You know, they've been taught that since they were probably little. Tord looks and he says, please, Master Dwarf, I don't wish to endanger my family. Can you please burn that in the fire?
Yeah, I throw it right in the fire.
Okay,
I
so as it hits
promised
the hearth,
Axis I would, he says as he tosses it.
yeah. So as it hits the hearth, it takes a little bit, but it starts. There wasn't a huge flame in the hearth as it was. They just had it low burning. It does catch ever so slowly and starts to burn. It continues to move, look around as its eyes pop and drain out of its face, and then it just kind of stops, shudders,
And I think
and then
honestly at this point too, I would look at Axis and motion to the pelt. Do you need that?
You should burn that as well.
I thought so, and I throw it in the fire as well.
so the pelt, unlike this, unlike the head, doesn't seem to burn as well as it's extremely thick and it's still raw, still moist from being used. But after a little while of keeping it on the edge, it slowly starts to burn. It wasn't animated or doing anything anyway, so you feel pretty safe. After you do that, Torrid turns at you and he kind of leans forward and he lets out a big breath. Oh, thank you. I good dwarf. I believe what you think happened, but generally, sometimes it might have been dead before you chopped its head off. Are you sure it was
He
undead?
takes his cloak and puts it down onto the counter and says, "See this felt? Pelt, I mean, not felt. See this? I got it at Joanne's. It's sexy,
I got it at
isn't
Joanne's
it?
felt. It's green.
Matches my colors." No, he's like, "See this pelt? Val and I took down a direwolf. Made matching cloaks with it. See this sporan?" And he places it down. "Yeah, basilisk. Not alligator. Basilisk. Beautiful, isn't it? Trust me, we know a thing or two about killing, about hunting, and about animals. Oh, and let us not forget Princess over here." And he motions to Axis. "His entire career is bent on burning the undead. When we hunted those boar, they were alive."
Tether seems to think about that for a couple seconds. His hands seem to fidget. He kind of rubs them together. He's like, I have nothing. I believe you, Master Dwarf, but
I don't want you to believe me. I want to know who's in charge. Who do I talk to? Maybe you and your family should leave.
well, we know that there are undead. My wife told your friend there, he points to Val, that they were undead. That's why we built the inn the way we did. It cost a tremendous amount of money to bring in the logs to make it as sturdy as possible.
Hildemar looks at Val speechless, like, this is not normal, he says. This is not normal undead. This is different.
But you don't understand. This is normal for us. It's just the way it is. Sometimes they're squirrels. Sometimes they're other animals. We don't know why they animate like that.
Is it contagious? I mean, you backed away in fear.
Well, I was surprised. I didn't expect to see you pull a head out of your bag. I mean...
But why did you want me to burn it?
Because it's disgusting. And it's dead, and it's the only way to put it down permanently is to burn them.
Axis, what's the chances of this being contagious?
Is this the normal way of the undead? Axis will try to do his religion or...
You don't have to roll. Undead don't normally spontaneously turn undead. Normally there's some sort of ritual or magic involved. A powerful wizard or necromancer or demon or other creature can bring them to life.
Now that he's thinking about that, he'll look at the innkeeper and his family, those that are here. Are there any traits or anything that's kind of showing off? His dwarven friend said that these folks aren't right. Even his dwarven buddy wasn't right. So are these... kind of do an insight check to see what's going on here, or to because he doesn't sense out evil. He gives people the benefit of the doubt because he's a good guy, but he's starting to piece things together, thinking that maybe there's something more that my companions have been saying, and that is now penetrating his head.
Okay, so you want to insight Torag? Is that it? You're trying to find out if he's...
I'm seeing, why is he defending? Is it something...
Sure. Go ahead. Yeah, I'll let you roll for that. And you can roll it as opposed to...
Okay. We have a second here. Let's see. 17.
Yeah, as far as you can tell, Torek hasn't said anything deceitful. There doesn't seem to be any secondary effect. It really seems to be this is just how it is for them. This is how they live their lives. They seem to have structured this building to be as protective as possible from them. And your insight also gives you a little bit of insight into him. Though he walks with a limp and he has the scar over his eye, and his left eye seems to be blind, he does look very strong. And he moves with a certain amount of grace with his basic movements that says that he's probably fairly skilled. You also roll high enough that you are looking at him and you look behind him, and you notice up on the wall is a large two-handed sword that's just kind of pressed up there. And you know it's seen battle, as it still has some chips. They've been kind of burned off, but there's still marks in it that it's been used.
He'll take that with a grain of salt. There's nothing too peculiar, too interesting here, or they're lying. So we should lock up. You provide the meal, yes? It comes with the room. I think we should eat and prepare ourselves.
Of course. My wife kept everything heated. I can bring you stews if you want.
Please.
Okay. Are you going to take a seat, or are you going to sit at the bar?
Just sit at a table. He'll take an open table. He's trying to calm the other two that are kind of antsy and ready to go and throw down with the innkeeper and the people here.
Okay. So Axis sits down at one of the tables. There's 4 chairs at it. So Hildemar and Val, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit down with him, or did you wish to question someone else or accuse someone else?
I think okay, you go first.
I think Hildemar sits down next to Axis, and he's actually wiping the blood out from under his eyes now that he's realizing that this doesn't seem magical as much as it seems like... I mean, he's dealt with a lot of plagues in wildlife, a lot of illness, so he's now frantically just trying to get the stuff off. And
yeah. And as you're wiping it off, you remember licking your knife, as you told Axis about.
Yeah, I do remember
Axis
that.
will just stare at it, and he'll stare at him, just look down and look at him cleaning himself. As I said before, my friend, you shouldn't play with your food or the garbage. And he'll go back to waiting for his meal to come.
And Val, what are you doing?
Val would walk up to the hearth and probably sit on a stool poking the embers.
Okay.
He wouldn't say anything, but he would just be so upset right now because he doesn't know what to suspect or make of anything that's going on. The people are extremely kind. They don't seem like they have any threat going on, nor do they seem interested in their environment that is so, like, cursed at this point, that from what they can see. So he just doesn't know what to make of it. He wants to sit on the side of the hearth that is closest to Axis, because right now you'll notice that as dark as Val is, he knows that under the circumstances, Axis is the one that's going to save them. So he just sit there and poke the embers with a metal rod.
Okay.
I think Hildemar also realizing where Val has chosen to sit. He's trying to be nonchalant, but it doesn't come off that way in a quiet bar, and he takes his stool and is like scooting around the table towards where Val is. And he leans back as if he's stretching. He's like, Val.
What?
If something weird happens to me, please be the one to take me out. I really don't want to have to deal with Axis.
Not a problem.
The thought of him besting me in battle, it just makes me sick to my stomach.
I've already said I would do it.
What? All right. And he kind of smiles at Axis. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
It's good. Let us warm ourselves. And he'll smile kind of lazily now, and that he's getting warmed up again.
As as your conversation ends, you notice that Torrid brings over 3 ales, places them on the table. On the house. Sounds like you've had a pretty rough time out there. My daughter will bring over the food as soon as it's heated. And he goes back to around the bar. After about maybe 5-10 minutes, Kara comes back out, the woman with the long black hair. And she brings over a massive trough and she puts it down. And then she puts a large thing of different type of breads and places 3 spoons down, large spoons down for you. Anything else? Specifically looking at Axis. Did you perhaps want some dessert?
No, that should be plenty. Thank you.
Oh.
He'll smile at her.
Are you sure? You perhaps later I can bring it up to your room for you.
I will not need to eat in the room, but thank you for your offering. And he'll smile again at her.
Good God.
Hildemar leans back, having enough of this, and kind of grabs her by the wrist and says, "He's celibate. It's part of his order," and then lets her go.
As she walks away, that's a lie.
I don't know. I don't know what you mean, but I was bringing him. And she walks away, face red, ears red, and she goes over and heads towards her other sisters and the 3 men that are over there.
She's cute.
I'm already courting someone at this time, though. Maybe you have a shot. I'll put in a good word for you.
No, thank you. And he just kind of like looks annoyed.
So do you guys eat or drink or do anything, or are you going to not eat?
I think Hildemar eats, but this is probably the first time he's not like Klingon fast feasting, just like face in the bowl. He's just like really nervous, like.
You would notice Val like go into a side pouch on one of his thighs, and then he would slide out a ration, and he'd like break off a dried cracker and eat it just with annoyance because he trusts absolutely nothing about this place. And he's looking at the bread and the beer on the table, and he so wants to consume it, but he's just like you would hear him click the cracker between his teeth. He would just be like, and then he would just say,
I hate this place.
At that point, I think Hildemar looks over, and mainly he's just trying to eat the soup to wash all the blood out of his teeth. So he's kind of freaked out about it. He's like, and he's like spitting it on the floor. He reaches over to his water skin and pulls out a water skin that he had full of dwarven ale and passes it towards Val.
and this is a water skin that you traveled with. Is this correct?
My own stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So then Val would consume it.
Seeing the suspicion in these guys doing, Axis will take his preparations. He puts his napkin down. He dusts off his plate and around. He just makes it all nice for about a good 3 or 4 minutes, and then he'll eat. It's rude not to. And he says, well, if they've cursed us or this is poison, you've already drank their mead, haven't you? It's a little late to go back. And he'll take a spoonful and eat it slowly.
Yeah. So Hildemar and Axis, you both notice that the stew is there's a simpleness to it, but that gives it a certain it kind of a familiarity to it of maybe childhood eating the stews that your mother or father made for you, or
chicken noodle soup for the dwarven soul, right?
Yeah. This one's more of a it's more of a beef stew, but still it's the same thing. I don't read books.
I think there's a time, like maybe Hildemar's guard is let down again just by the peaceful environment. It's really hard to stay panicked when everything looks like this. And he says, listen, Axis, it's not so much that I distrust the people here. It's that this is not natural and it needs to be purged. If that makes sense.
Does, but they have not caused us any harm.
I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about what's out there. I don't know if I can get a wink of sleep at night or put any ounce of food in my belly knowing that we should be out there doing something. Yet none of these dinguses know what they're doing.
To go blindly out there and to find trouble isn't a good idea, my friend. It'll come to us eventually. Just relax and enjoy life. Isn't that the dwarven way?
The dwarven way is a way of action. It's to question these worms and find out which one of them knows something and then act upon it.
That would be not a good thing since they've caused us no ill will yet.
As the conversation ends, you sort of get into just eating and looking around, being annoyed at the people around you. You notice that the dwarf continues to just drink his beer. Nothing. He rarely even makes a sound as he just kind of stares into his thing. He's probably someone who travels by himself a lot and has no problem with being quiet and not making any noise. Just the opposite of your group, or at least Hildemar. You notice that the three men, which I use men lightly as they seem to be more young men, probably maybe 17 to 18. They look like young farmhands, perhaps. Their dress says that they're fairly dirty. They got hay on them. They probably were working and come here at night to drink some of the, ale as relaxation. And I'm sure that the beautiful women in the area are probably slim, so they find these women to be appealing to them. Every once in a while, there's laughter comes from their section as they tell some sort of joke or something goes on. The blonde and the redheaded daughters seem to be very attentive to them, at times sitting on their laps, joking with them, sometimes even drinking ale with them, which is slightly surprising, but there's no one else in there besides you three that they can serve, so apparently that doesn't matter to them. Kara seems to be sitting at the stool at the bar, except for when someone needs something, when you ask for more food or something, she pretty much just sits there, but she stares at Axis as if he's a piece of meat, and she wishes to dine upon him. Horrid. And not really eat as in food in some other way. I don't want you to feel like, oh no, she's whatever.
She's about to get the leg of this wooden stool into her heart, and then we'll see what's what.
Yeah, she is. And Torrid continues to go about cleaning and stuff like that. Every once in a while, you see the mother, Marrow. She comes out and usually just brings the food from the back, and she comes out and she speaks to Torrid in light tones. They speak quietly, but you three can overhear as you're at the table closest to the bar anyways. And the hearth is right there. So you also hear Val, them saying something about that, they're outsiders. They don't understand that this is the way it is around here with the graveyard and undead up here. It seems like to them, it just seems to be some sort of the way it is, the way life is for them. Is there anything else that you want to do?
I'm going to give the other two a chance to interject before I throw out a suggestion.
I think Val is too pissed to say anything. I mean, Val is the type of individual that once he gets to a point of anger, alleviating or reducing that anger it takes something phenomenal to get him back to normal. So he would just sit there poking the embers, whispering to himself, saying things.
Damn fools.
And that would be it.
Axis will keep eating, and he'll pose, knowing that he's being watched. He'll make sure that he gives her the best angles as he eats slowly his food. And he'll turn to the others and polite conversation, but he knows the mood that they're in, so he won't prod the beast yet. He'll just keep eating and posing.
Hildemar puts his stuff down, leans back so that the two of them can hear, and says, "We have to go to the graveyard."
Obviously, we have to go to the graveyard. But I suspect the graveyard will be coming to us now.
Technically, you are in the graveyard. This entire area is the graveyard.
Oh, I misread that. Then I wouldn't have said. I would.
Oh, Hildemar thinks that there's like a graveyard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would like spit at the fire, and then you would see the fire grow. When I spit, and I would say,
"We are in the fucking graveyard."
Then there must be a mausoleum, a source of power somewhere. I don't know, an apex.
An artifact or a necromancer must be doing this, but we must find where either is.
And I'm thinking if the undead are over here banging on the tavern, then we should be able to sneak our way out.
You would leave these folks defenseless?
They've lived here for weeks. This is normal to them.
Where would we go? wander aimlessly through the woods or the plains to find this necromancer?
That's what I need to find out. I want to learn more about the battle. Maybe there was a wizard that fell. Maybe it was upstream, and they're drinking it. Maybe they're infected, and if they die, they turn into it.
Maybe we should get some rest and prepare for the morning.
I've been in a wagon. I've been sleeping for a week.
It is up to you two, but again, blindly going out there isn't a good idea.
Fine. We'll wait till morning. Agreed?
Agreed.
He kind of looks to Val.
Val would just get up, not say anything, and walk upstairs. It's up the spiraling staircase, just pissed off, and just go into his room.
Okay, so Val disappears upstairs. Hildemar, Axis, you would put it probably at around 9 p.m. So I don't know if you wish to go up to your rooms now, or you're going to stay and drink,
I think Hildemar actually does stand up and starts taking a step away. And he stops at Kara and then pulls out a gold coin and then hands it to her and says, "I'm sorry for my brash humor. We dwarves are not always the most friendly type. Axis says he's rather smitten with you and he will see you in his room at midnight."
Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah, she smiles and says, "Oh, what?" And she kind of pushes the coin back towards you. I don't need the.
No,
I don't.
take the coin so that no one knows we're talking about this. Make it look like I'm giving you a tip and put it in your pocket.
But she's like holds it and she's like, but a gold.
A gold, and then
you don't have a silver.
And then you go up to Axis and you give him the gold coin, and he'll know exactly which you. You see what I'm saying?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes, okay.
That way
and she
he knows
smiles.
you're not just there to clean his chimney. You're there to clean his chimney. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, what?
Never mind. Just midnight.
Midnight. Okay.
And then
thank you.
You're a very nice girl, and he's a very, very innocent and stupid young man. He needs this.
I don't know. Okay. And she just smiles at you and pockets the coin.
And Hildemar walks upstairs, and is Val in his room, door shut and everything?
Yeah, it's up to Val.
Yeah, I think his door would be shut. He would have probably slammed it too. He was really just frustrated with the whole scenario.
Yeah, so probably during that conversation, he hears the thud, and he's like, "Anyway, I gotta."
Yeah.
He goes up and knocks on the door to Val's room.
You would hear something hit the door as if Val threw something
like his boot.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Hildemar goes in his room and cracks the door open and lays prone and pulls out his bow and arrow, and he's like, "All right, she-devil, the bait has been laid. Come and get your prey." And just waits.
Okay.
This is some witch. This is like something a swamp hag would do.
So Axis, what are you doing? You were the only one left down in the stairs. You've eaten your fill. You feel great. You've partaken of the ale or whatever you wish to drink. They would bring it to you. It's not a problem. Kara is still staring at you, though. After Hildemar had spoken to her, she seems to just kind of like smile and look over at you, but doesn't stare as much as she was. Besides that, nothing is going on. But what do you want to do? Do you want to continue drinking, or do you want to go up with them?
He'll go to his room after. He'll give him a good half hour or so. He'll warm up by the fire, and he'll go up and prepare for the night. But he doesn't take the approach of going down. He's going to stay up, do his prayers. He's more cautious now that he's alone and can not have to fake that he's all brave and whatnot. And he's a little concerned as well.
Okay, so before you even get upstairs, Axis, I need you to make an intelligence check for me.
Oh, thank God, that's not me.
Mm-hmm.
I think out of everyone in the group, he would be the one to think of it anyways.
$16.
Okay. So as you're starting to walk, You see the stairways in the corner, it would be the northeastern corner of the inn if you need a kind of specific area. That's where the staircase is that goes up. To the right of that staircase is a door. It's a side door. It's smaller. It's not huge like the big main doors, but this one goes out, you're assuming, to the barn. And when you see that, you're kind of in your head, you're like, the barn. And you're like, wait, where's Chet? I mean, it's been 4.5 hours. Does it take that long to get the wagon going? I mean, he said that he would be in to pay for everything when he was done.
He will stop. He'll look up. How far is the barn from the inn?
The distance that you saw is probably maybe 40 feet from this side of the inn to the barn doors. The doors open towards the inn, the double doors.
He is going to. He doesn't think anything's wrong, really, though he's a little suspicious. But he just blames that on his traveling companions and their suspicion of this place. And he'll go over and look in on Chet. He'll go to the barn, and if he needs to, he thinks he's loud enough, he can yell.
Okay, so you go out that side door?
Yep.
Okay, so you open the door. Immediately you're hit with kind of a burst of cool air as the snow that now has been coming down for the past 2.5 hours is actually starting to accumulate. It's not heavy, thick snow. It's kind of light, fluffy snow, so it's easy to walk through. And you don't think it's quite freezing yet to the point where it's turning into ice. As you are walking, though, your eyes kind of glance at the ground, and you don't see any tracks. You don't see tracks going towards the barn. You don't see tracks coming out of the barn. And from directly straight in front of you, you can see what looks like the barn has 2 rows of stalls as well as a place where the wagon is. So directly in front of you is the wagon, your wagon that you came in, the covered wagon. It's parked right in the one spot where it fits in the barn. And you don't see any of the other horses, but you can hear them. They seem to be making kind of whinnying noises, and they seem to be banging against the whatever they call those things that horses stand in. I can't think of it in my head right now.
Stable.
There you go.
He'll go inside if the door is open. He'll go inside.
Yeah, so you start to go around the wagon. As you do, you immediately stop as the smell of iron and shit and death kind of hits your nose. You're in a seasoned adventurer. You've come across this smell many, many times. Something large has been killed, and it's close. And as you look around the edge of the wagon, you see your horse, one of the horses that was pulling the wagon, is on the ground. And on top of it is this lad that was at the front of the stable boy. And you see he's tearing into the horse, ripping it apart. And it hasn't noticed you yet.
Interesting. Is there a window to my companions in this area from where I'm at? Can I...
No, there are 2 windows facing you from the inn on the second floor, but these are the rooms that you had passed to go to your suite as well as their suites. Their windows face towards the front of the building. You're on the right side of the building.
He'll bellow out as he'll have his battle axe ready, and he'll bellow out as he takes on this. He didn't think it's a kid eating in his horse, and a kid wouldn't eat a horse like that. But he'll try to bellow out loud enough to get his companions' attention if they've not gone to sleep.
Yeah. So the DM will roll awesome perception checks for his friends who...
Oh, I have horrible perception, dude. You're screwed.
There's a chance.
Somebody in chat just said new fragrance by Old Spice, Iron Shit and Death.
Axis, as you yell, regardless of whether they hear you or not, as soon as you yell, the creature turns, the boy turns. You see his eyes are completely glossed over. They're white. Blood and entrails are hanging from its mouth. He turns and goes, and kind of claws at your direction and begins to stand up.
Okay, we'll strike him down before he can get up if possible, or what we need to do.
Sure. Roll initiative.
I can do that.
Do you want us to roll as well?
I do not.
We ain't hear shit.
Mm-mm.
I'm sleeping.
Yeah, you guys are fucking. You're laying down looking out the door.
I'm like,
We are gone.
Sturgill Retreat is
I'm gonna get that girl.
come
I'm
on,
gonna get
Gypsy.
And,
Show
and our
yourself.
windows and our windows are facing the front, so we can't see the barn. He's on his own.
All right, so Axis, you sir are faster.
Okay, we will strike down.
Yeah. So make an attack roll or do whatever you're gonna do.
All of a sudden, I'd been there.
In this low,
Ooh,
this is
Not on that one.
brought to you by Dork Vision.
god damn.
And I think I can do it again, can't I? Get 2 attack. Yeah, 2 attacks
Sure.
at 5th. We'll strike him again. 18.
18 to hit. What
Yep.
was the first one? You didn't say what it was.
8.
An 8. Okay, so the first one still hits, and the second one hits. So you hit with both attacks.
Okay, smiting. I think it's undead. It just spells 1 spell chart, or does it take an action to activate? I don't know about the system. I haven't played a paladin 5th.
Oh, I don't either, but I believe that if you use a
When you hit
spell
with a
slot,
melee
it's
weapon-
1d6 or 2d6 versus undead, I think it is.
A
Per
1d8
level.
versus. Yeah.
That's it.
I'll
1d8
just
per
spend
spell
1
level.
for 1d8. So.
You can ask James. I'm sure he probably knows better than I do.
So they both hit, yeah?
Yes, sir. They do. You notice the creature, not only does it not dodge, it doesn't try to move out of the way. It moves directly at you. Almost as if it's unthinking. Or perhaps thinking of just one thing.
To eat. That's good.
I'm beginning to regret my favorite foe.
This game is brought to you by Jarl of Goats.
Do I just add up all the damage, or do they need to be... Oh, you're going to take away it anyway.
Yeah.
23 total for the 2 attacks.
How much of that was radiant damage? You need to
4 of
separate it.
Okay. Let me separate it. Son of a bitch.
Don't worry about it. This time,
Okay.
just remember later on, because radiant is a different type, and if the creature's vulnerable to it, I need to double the damage. I need to
Okay.
double the radiant damage.
Sounds good.
So you leap forward, and with the smoothness and excellence that you have as a paladin, your 100 combats that you've probably been through dealing with undead, you know exactly how to stop it. You slash to the right, cleaving through its head, and then you come across to the left with a backswing, chopping its head off. The creature falls to the ground, limply dead.
And with that, Access will turn. He thinks that his driver's dead anyway, that they killed him when he got here, and he'll stroll back with his shield on and his axe ready, and he'll stroll back into the end.
Okay. Your passive perception is 12. As you're spinning, you see off past the corpse of the horse, you see what appears to be a stack of hay, and underneath it, you could see 2 legs moving underneath it. Perhaps Chet's legs, as if the hay had hit him.
Damn it, I was trying to get away with going back into that sound bitch, but I am a paladin, so I will boldly go in and find out the kicking legs. I'll kick them to see if I can...
Okay.
Whatever. If it attacks me, I'm going to attack it back, but I'll kick it as hard as I can to get it out from the hay.
Sure. You walk over to the legs and you kick the legs. I mean, you definitely recognize those are Chet's skinny old man legs kind of sticking out from under him. They're kind of kicking and moving. You can't really hear anything. I mean, you hear kind of...
We'll reach it with one hand and grab him.
Okay, so you're going to move the hay bales? Basically, there's 3 heavy hay bales that have fallen on top of them. A couple 100 pounds worth.
Yeah, we'll move him around.
All right. So you pull the first one off, and then that kind of sound kind of turns more into a... And then it becomes a... And then you kind of stop as the form of Chet is still pinned beneath the hay, but you can see his face and his eyes are completely glossed in white.
I'm sorry to have failed you, Chet, but I must get my companions to deal with you and your friends. And he's going to walk back to the inn.
Oh, Jesus.
Leave him pinned under the hay bales.
Okay.
Calmly.
As you step over the hay bale that you just tossed and you're moving along, you notice that the horse that's on the ground, its leg twitches.
We'll let it be. I'm going to get my guys. It's going to be a group and then to be alone. So
I love seeing a paladin run from all this shit.
He's not being cowardly. He is boldly walking back to kick in the door and to let everyone know that trouble's here and he'll deal with it inside.
Okay. So, yeah. So you burst through the door. Right as you're passing, you're walking that 40 feet between the barn and the thing. Something catches your eye and you see through the snow falling down off in the distance, kind of shadow, a human shadow sort of moving towards you. Something just out of sight, even out of your dark vision line of sight. Then you see more of them off in the distance. And as you turn to the left, looking out over where the road is, the King's Road, you see things moving, coming towards you, creeping onto the road. Some of them crawling, some of them walking on all fours, some of them standing like humans moving around.
He'll continue making his way, still boldly walking, not running. Of
course, not being
afraid. He will hate to have to admit that he was wrong in this situation. But he's going to go back inside and bar the door.
Yeah, so you burst through the door, and what do you say? You're kind of, I'm not thinking you're out of breath, but I'm sure you're slightly adrenaline filled, so you're probably a little bit.
Is anybody inside?
Yeah, everyone who is in the inn is still in the inn in the exact same spots they were prior. They all kind of stop quietly and turn, except for the dwarf who does not look up from his mug.
It's quite chilly out there, and he'll pull the latch or whatever else holds the door closed.
Okay. Do you lock it?
Yeah, he'll make sure he latches it or
okay, so there's no latch, but there is a thick board that can be placed down to bar it.
He'll slide that to bar it.
Okay.
Well, folks.
Towards like Sir, we don't close that yet. It's not until later.
And with a loud voice, now that these idiots upstairs should be able to hear, he says, well, apparently we have an army of undead coming, and our dead coachman who's coming out to say hello to us. And he'll draw his weapons out, and he's waiting for someone to see if they're going to come at him, and he's going to glow. I'll do the cantrip of light to make sure I glow with my angel beauty.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. There's a bunch of screams and what? And then a bunch of the three men stand up. The dwarf actually looks up and raises an eyebrow looking in your direction. Torrid kind of tilts his head to the side and it's like, what? And then when you yell that out, Hildemar laying on the ground, you hear clearly with the door open, since you're right at the edge, you hear Axis. He's around the corner and down the stairs, so it's slightly muffled, but you do hear him say something about the undead and that your undead teamster is coming for you. Val, you don't hear anything. You're oblivious to the sounds.
Axis has always been one of those, just enjoy yourself. Try to make the most out of a bad situation. So to hear him be like, an army of the undead, I know he doesn't usually exaggerate. So out of curiosity, I stand up and I go over to the window and I peer. I wipe the frost. You know how it's snowing outside? It's a little foggy. I'm like...
Yeah, and when you do, the light, not only from your room, but from the lanterns outside, light up the area. You can clearly see wolves, creatures, all types, moving along the road. You think you even see an undead turtle, as well as some human-like beings of different amounts of decrepitness, shuffling, shambling along. But behind them, you see other creatures moving on fours, though they stop and stand up in like human-like form. And then they kind of move really quickly on fours.
He just kind of goes, and then turns around and runs for Val's room.
Okay.
And he's going to start repeatedly banging on the door, doing that really annoying thing where there is no pause in the knocks. He's going until Val gets up. He's only got two boots to throw.
Val immediately wakes up for whatever.
He opens the door pissed off, and he just looks at the door.
What do you want?
He points out the window. Like behind you. Look.
That's probably unusual for for Heldamar. He normally is like talking about everything. He's very quiet, pointing.
Val would turn around, notice, see the scenario for what it is, and then he would just curse to himself.
Shit.
And then he would just like run downstairs.
And as the two of you come downstairs, you see Axis standing next to a boarded off door, glowing like an angel, holding out his battle axe, I believe. That's what you carry, Axis? Yeah.
Yeah, his shield and battle axe.
Mm-hmm. He's ready for combat. And in fact, you looking at him, on his immaculate clothing, there's hints of blood splatter and maybe what looks like brain matter on his surcoat.
Out of concern, I think I walk up to him and I say, Chet?
No, it was actually the stable hand, he says in a calm voice, though I feel bad that I had to put him down.
Yeah, what?
Chet will be coming here soon.
The stable boy, Thomas?
Is dead.
What's wrong with Thomas? What? You killed Thomas? Then suddenly the place erupts. The women are like, oh no, not Thomas! And Torrid kind of reaches up and places the mug that he has on the top of the bar and kind of runs as quickly as he can with his gimp leg, walks around the bar and starts moving towards you. The dwarf kind of looks up, goes back to looking at his drink, and the daughters have now kind of moved together. They're all standing next to Kara. So you have the other two are standing with her, and the three young boys, older boys, I don't know, teens, we'll call them teens, are standing up at the tables. They're just kind of looking they're looking frightened and scared because you've just admitted to killing the stable boy.
Is anyone going to assault him, you said? Or someone coming toward him as a result of him saying that? Or are they just withdrawing?
No, Torrid seems to be like concerned, and he's trying to, you're talking along a huge inn. So he's trying to get towards you guys to find out what the hell's going on.
Right.
Yeah, you don't see anyone seems aggressive at all. More frightened than anything.
The stable boy was eating our horse. He was not not dining correctly, so I had to put him down before he could attack me. Chet has turned, and if anyone else has violent actions towards us or turns, they will be dealt with as well. And he says that with authority, just looking at the rest of the group, but he's not afraid to put this place down to the torch. Now his attitude has changed now that he's in his element, and his companions are there.
Okay, so Torrid gets halfway across the room when you say that and stops, and he's like, wait, what's going on? You just said you've killed Thomas.
Val would creep up from behind him as if like he's a snake, like shadow and dark clouds would like be surrounding the leather that he wears, and this black smoke would circle around Torrid as he questions his friend Axis, and then Val would whisper in his ears,
"Your friend was dead already. We did him a favor. Drop it."
Torrid backs away from you, startled obviously by your sudden being around him and near him when he didn't see you moving as stealthily as you were. But he stops and kind of like affirms himself, and he just kind of stands, I'll use the word stoically, but he kind of stands up to you, gaining some courage in the fact that you're in his inn, and he feels like he's responsible for everyone. My lord, you don't understand. He said he killed him, but you weren't there. You were up in your room. How do you know whether he killed him and murdered him or not?
Because I have traveled with this paladin, and I know his heart. He is not capable of the evil that your heart is accusing him of. I said drop it.
Torrid.
Yeah, good. He turns and looks at you. He kind of backs away from Val another step, but then looks over at Hildemar.
You have to understand that these people are... well, they're angels. You understand that, right?
He looks over at Val and then kind of like gives you a look like, yeah, right, okay. Yep.
And then he points to the glowing paladin.
All right, well.
They are not from our realm. They are not mortal beings. We are mortal beings. We do not understand what they understand. Is that agreed?
I don't understand this whole situation. What could have happened to the boy?
I brought you a moving, dead boar head, and you took no action. The boy's death is on your hands. If you would have brought the boy in, if you would have taken some concern about the situation and possibly did something about it, we could have potentially saved more people. So here's what you're going to do now. You have a cellar in this place, yes?
We do.
One entrance?
Yes.
Good. Gather everybody in your bar, patrons included, and get your asses down in the cellar.
But there's no room. We can't fight from down there.
You're not supposed to fight from down there. You're supposed to hide and keep quiet, unlike Thomas. Thomas couldn't hide or keep quiet, and now he is gone.
This is my inn. I need to protect it. And he kind of looks over at his sword.
Like you protected Thomas?
I had no idea.
Of course you don't have an idea. So grab your sword, and you get everyone into the cellar.
You are going to make a persuasion check for me.
Actually, yes.
Or you can intimidate him if you want.
No.
But that's
I think I'm going to persuade.
If you go intimidation, I have like a +1 zillion on that, and I will assist you.
I would actually rather do the persuasion, and if I fail, you intimidate after.
Okay, that's fair. All right, cool.
I'll be the reasonable guy that be like, you made me sick my angels on you, bro.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And everybody watching, we've just had what's called metagaming.
And they can all kiss my ass. Because I'm gonna continue.
So I'm like, please! And my voice cracks. I'm like, please get in the cellar. We mean business. As I roll a 1.
Oh, Jesus. He looks at you and he's like, I understand, Master Dwarf, and I want to believe you about axes. And perhaps, and he kind of looks over at his daughter specifically. He's like, he's like, Kara, Sar, you go down the cellar. I'll be right there to move the block. And he's like, I'm staying up here. We'll get them down there.
Val, please, could you? And he just turns away like.
I think, did we start with inspiration, DM?
You did.
All right. I'm not going to waste it. He'll fail at his intimidation because he rolled an 11 unless that beats whatever he's going to roll.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
Seems, I mean, it's not like he's not agreeing. He's just saying that he's going to stay up and fight. So,
does he? You said he had his weapon on him.
His weapon is above the bar.
So let's play this out in role play.
Mm-hmm.
So Val would say,
"Go down to the cellar now."
He looks at you, but moves back and begins walking towards the bar. He doesn't confirm or say anything, but he continues to call out orders to his daughters, telling them to go back into the kitchen, and something about get Merrow, get everyone together, get your mother. And he's like, you lads, get down there as well. You notice the boys immediately kind of move, heading towards that as he's heading towards the back. You see they're going towards the bar.
I don't think Val would micromanage him at this point. I think Val would be convinced that he intimidated him, even though he didn't, because that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
So Val would turn to look at the paladin as well as his dwarven friend, and he would say,
"How many did you see, Axis?"
Many coming. I couldn't count them all. And while he says that, he wants to look at the others before they start to break up and just check. Now that he's a little paranoid and the little kid was attacking, he will use his divine senses to check the people here before they leave. I know the mother is in here. Who else is not here?
The only one, the only one you can't see is the mother, who you believe she's in the kitchen, where she's been.
She'll be suspect until further notice, but he's going to stare at them as they leave, and they're preparing themselves. The guy's getting his sword and stuff.
Yeah, you don't detect anything from them. You don't. There's undead all around you because you detect it you can feel it. You know that the land itself is consecrated or desecrated because it doesn't tell you which one. It just says that there is, and you know that there are undead around, but nothing is coming from them specifically.
We should try to bar the rest of this place. They are coming.
As you say that, you hear Torrid as he's in the middle of directing everyone towards the back. He says, "The bar. You could put the bar across the door like you did on the other one."
Axis will do that.
Torrid, I'm thinking he means also boarding up the windows with your tables, basically turning the place inside out.
The downstairs has no windows. Windows are only on the second floor. The place was built to withstand any type of normal undead attack.
And you fought the undead before?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, they usually leave by the end of the night. With that, he continues to usher them. The difference is as he walks by, he grabs his sword, grabs the sheath, puts it in it, and then straps it on his belt as he goes into the back room, ushering his 3 daughters and the 3 men back there. You notice the dwarf has not moved.
I am half tempted to get his attention, but I kind of want to get their opinion first. What about him?
If he can't fight, then he needs to go with the women. I say that loud enough for the dwarf to hear.
Yeah. Like I can't fucking fight. I'm a trader who travels the roads by himself. Of course I can fight.
All right, stand up. Let's have a good look at you.
Okay, so he stands up, reaches out with his right hand, grabs the battle axe, the dwarven battle axe that's beside him. He kind of stands up, and he kind of like bows before you in a mock elvish style. Is this good enough for you?
Dwarven axe, please. Slow, clumsy, and dumb. And then he pulls out his short swords and starts spinning them around. Now, short sword combat, that's where the skill lies. Dexterity,
Right.
Cunning, speed.
Right. And when you die, I'll give those to my daughter.
Excellent. Of course, you're not going to die right, because you're too busy hiding.
He kind of leans back a little bit, and he's like, I'm hiding. I am not hiding.
Come with me,
I
then.
wasn't the one who ran out of the barn.
Axis. Open the door.
Does he say that? That door says that he cowardly ran?
Yeah.
Axis will turn. How do you know if you weren't watching?
You obviously.
And he looks at him.
You went out the door. You come running back in after killing a kid.
Axis, open the door.
Open the door. Shall we boot the dwarf out so that he can show us his prowess?
I'm
That would
going
not
out
be
with
very
the
lawful.
dwarf.
Axis will let you out.
The 2 of us will stand side by side. Whoever gets the most kills in a short amount of time before the other one has to dip back to the door wins.
That's stupid. Though I will go out and get my gear that's out in the stables.
Oh, no. You're not going out on your own. I see what you're doing.
You see what I'm doing?
This is one of those situations where one person goes away and then they run. They don't come back.
Fine. I was gonna fucking run. You're right. If the place is that bad off, I don't want to stay here. I want my horses, I want my gear, and I want to go.
I don't think there are any horses left.
Holy man. Did you see any horses? Were they all dead? Mine were on the far left side of the stables.
And he looks at you, and I believe the fear took my vision at that time. Then he kind of gives you that slow. But yes, the horses are still there, unless they're being eaten now by the army, the undead I came to talk to you about.
Oh, nobody mentioned an army of undead.
Drunk and cannot hear things, he says out loud and kind of boorishly, that he's picked up some of the traits that his companions have brought to him over the years they've traveled together. Just stand there and look pretty. Oh, wait, that's what you tell me. Shakes his head. Anyways, we must prepare for battle.
He kind of looks over at you. He's like, I don't
Were
I
you,
still wish my stuff was here.
were you
I had
ever
some-
in the militia with your
Of course.
with your clan? All
Of
right.
course.
All right. You remember the dwarven phalanx?
Of course.
Well, we can't do that because we don't have shields.
We don't have shields, right?
So what I'm
right.
thinking is, what I'm thinking is, you strike high with the axe. I'll come in low with the short swords. The two of us can
Right.
watch each other's backs.
Right. I don't trust those guys. They're too tall.
I don't either. They always forget I'm there. Sometimes they turn around and they're like, "Where did he go?"
Mhm.
Anyway,
With that, he actually kind of gets close to you, and he
Right
makes a
away.
nod, and then in Dwarven he's like "Voktor," which means like for honor.
Boktor.
With
Well,
that,
are
you
you
kind
ready?
of hear a sound very similar to when Hildemar was sliding his chair across the floor, but coming from the kitchen area. And then you hear some sounds as there's like a large amount of talking, and then you hear kind of that sound again. And then Torrid comes out from around it with his large bastard sword. He comes around the bar. He looks over. He's like, "Do I have time to get to my armor from upstairs?"
Yes,
Oh,
your wife.
My wife, she's in the hold with the kids.
You confirm that you have seen her down there.
Yes. I just put her down there.
Go get your armor.
With that, he kind of hustles past you and going up the staircase.
Val, I kind of like pull the rope from the boars out. Maybe you should go tie the cellar shut.
What do you do, Val?
Oh, he was asking me. Oh, absolutely. If he's going down to get his armor, I'm going to lock him in the cellar.
He's going upstairs. So the
he's going
Yeah,
upstairs.
he's going upstairs.
But he'll just jump out the windows. I don't think Val would do that, right? I mean, come on.
No, I mean I think we should tie the cellar shut.
Oh, I see what you're
in
saying.
case the
Yes, okay.
So that way we don't have to have a guard there protecting them or
Gotcha.
having
All
them
right, yeah. So
come out
then
and attacking us.
Val will take some rope, and he'll just say,
Agreed.
and he'll just head down to the cellar, and you probably hear him talking through the door and saying,
Is everyone safe?
Okay.
As response to them, you just tie him in.
So while the rest of you wait, probably for Torrid to come down, Val, you go into the back. When you pass through one of the double doors, the door on the left, door on the right, you can go in and out of. As you go into it, you enter a large area, bigger than what you would have expected, 20-foot by 15-foot kitchen. There's a small pantry on the right side, as well as a large hearth on the back side. And this hearth is like a cooking hearth. It's got all the stuff that you would normally have with the iron grates and stuff. You can cook on it. You can see that there's a pot on it cooking now, a large iron pot. It's got that wafting smell of the stew that was eaten earlier, still going as it's on the simmering side. The flames coming off it are not you. There's just coals there, so it's just like a low heat. You can see in the dead center of the room is a 5-foot by 5-foot wooden block on huge stump-like legs. And you can see under it is a hatch that you probably wouldn't have known, but you looked at, you remember the sound of the sliding, and you can see that is covering the hatch, holding it down. It looks like something that you could not move.
And there's no sign of is that the cellar door where they are, or
That is the hatch that goes down into the root cellar.
okay? And and you're saying that the box or the object is on top of it.
Picture a giant cutting board, a 5-foot by 5-foot solid wood cutting board is on top of it. Probably almost 400 pounds, maybe 30 to 50 pounds.
And I can't move it, right?
Well, you can
Probably.
you can try, but
right,
you know,
all right.
looking at it, that's probably beyond your strength to move it.
All right. So then I would just turn around and tie the door that led me to that kitchen area. I would tie it down.
Okay, so there is a door on the back near the pantry that goes out to the back side of the inn. This is probably with the way they bring food and stuff in. You notice that there is a bar on it, so Torrid probably barred it when he went back there to block off the door.
Oh, okay. Then I won't bar this door, and I'll just leave that as the last point of where we would fight if we're backed in from the battle upstairs.
Okay.
So then I would I would return and I would convey that to Hildemar, as briefly as I can.
Sure.
And I would just turn, face Axis, and I would say,
Let it in.
You wish to let them in?
Well, do we want to keep them outside all day? Or do we want to thwart them?
You're muted, buddy.
He'll go over and prepare the door, if that is the plan.
As Axis walks over, you hear as Torrid comes bouncing, half bouncing with his limpy leg coming down. You notice that he has put on a breastplate as well as a chainmail overcoat underneath it. Not a full set of armor, but he's got some protection on. And you see he's got an old metal cap type helmet with a nose piece that he has on his head that he comes down. You notice that the metal helmet has a huge gash in it on the side that matches perfectly with the line where where the scar is that runs down the left side of his face.
Torrid, I need you to do something.
What do you need?
Do you have rags behind the bar?
Sure.
Do you have extremely potent flammable alcohol?
He looks, but you've had the whiskey. That's
excellent.
Strongest.
I need you to go and take the whiskey and empty about 2/3 of it so that you have a third remaining. Do that several times in some of the empty spare bottles you have and put rags in it.
Right. Gnomish fires.
Exactly.
I got you.
You do that over there. And you are the last defense for the kitchen. We are not having you on the front lines with that gimpy leg of yours. So you're just going to get in the way.
With that, he kind of stops. You see a split second of his hurt pride, but then he nods in acceptance. He knows that he's blind in one eye and he's got a gimpy leg.
By the time they get through us, they'll be weakened, and you'll be the last line of defense between you and your family being zombie kibble.
Shouldn't we just let... I don't think the undead can get through.
You're right, they can't. We're
Why
inviting them to dinner.
He kind of shakes his head. He seems unsure as the situation, but he goes over and begins to fill the bottles.
Because we aim to trap them.
Okay. He kind of nods. He's unsure, but he's not going to interrupt you guys for what you're doing. You notice he doesn't have bottles technically, but he does have small clay pots that he's filling up and sticking.
How old was Timmy?
Thomas?
Sure.
Sorry, you asshole. You totally broke me on that one. That was a good one. Tori looks out over. Jesus Christ. He's like, Thomas was just 12.
You know, if you would have taken action sooner, he might have lived for his 13th birthday. Let's make sure that other children local to here live to their 13th birthdays.
What action? He kind of mumbles off to himself.
And then I look at the dwarf. What's your name again?
He's like, I'm Balearic.
Balearic
Steel Mantle.
Excellent. You got any objection to us opening this door and taking care of the problem?
Oh, nice, Andre. You just got it. Yeah. I don't want to open the door.
All right, well then, Axis will do it. Axis, open the door.
He's like,
wait. Val would interject, and Val would just grab about 5 or 6 bottles of alcohol, and he would just tell everyone, he would say the following.
Pour the liquid in a 20 to 40 foot wide area. Do you hear what I'm saying? Pour it on the floor.
Like a moat.
So there are no bottles that you can use. There are small kegs, casks that you can use to do the same thing. But you notice when you go over to get them, Torrid is like, You're not going to burn the barn down. I mean, burn the inn down.
Yes, I am. And we will rebuild it after we survive.
My family is here. They can't escape.
Your family is in a cellar. They will not die. We are on the first floor. There's a kitchen behind us where they are in the cellar. That will not burn. They are safe.
When this place goes up, it's a giant furnace. It's going to kill anybody it's in it.
They will not burn. They will
be
not.
fine.
We've hidden a cellar before. One time when we were running away from a dragon. You know, that's not important. And he kind of waves his hand around.
I assure you, they will not suffer, nor will they die. They will be protected in a cellar. Is it ventilated? Is there any air going into the cellar?
No, it's a root cellar.
Then it will not burn. The smoke will not go to the cellar. They will not die. This will help us kill all of the undead. When they are thwarted, we will take your family out of the cellar, and we will rebuild your inn.
You can make a persuasion check.
All right.
I will give you advantage on this.
Actually, you should really make a deception check, but sure. We'll let you do either one. You can choose.
I think Val would opt for, let's see, which is, can he opt for intimidation? Or...
Not with the conversation you just had, but you can change
Okay,
it.
all right. All right, no, that's fine. I'll just, so I'm getting advantage on it, you said?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. He's not convinced.
An 8 and a 9.
Yeah, nothing you're saying is convincing Torrid that his family won't get burned if the inn goes up in flames.
All right. Don't open the door yet. We're just going to waste more time. That's fine. Torrid, come here. Val and I will show you what we mean. We've had cellars like this before.
He stays behind the bar. He's like, I can see from here, dwarf. I'm not going to risk my family.
I'm not saying risk your family. Go over to the cellar and help me lift this door. Let me at least examine it to make sure that they can breathe. Will you at least give me that courtesy? Because if you're right, if I go down there and you're right about how it's designed, then fine.
All right. So he stops and looks, and then kind of looks at Val for a second, then goes in the back with you to look at where the cutting board is.
All right. Open the cellar so we can go down there. Show me around.
You see he stops. He puts his shoulder against it. You notice like one of his legs just kind of sticks out. That's the broken, the bad leg. But the other one. And then with he pushes.
And at this time, I would like to use the sign language to get Val.
Yeah.
All right. So Val would probably, he would wait until they were actually in the cellar so that Val could then assist.
He's frantically motioning like now.
Okay. So Val would then come. Yes.
Yeah. What are you doing, Axis? Are you going to go with them when he's motioning for them to?
No, I don't know what they're doing. It could be something shady, and he doesn't want to have to get upset with them. He's just going to observe the area and prepare just in case these things do find a way in.
I look at
Val,
but
he'll be able to see.
And as he's pushing and going, I'm going to point at him and then show a pushing motion and then down into the ground.
All right, so Val would probably run top speed and do a strength check to help push the object along with this individual.
You can rephrase that if you think it's different. I think that he would know that Hildemar's trying to tell you that is when he opens it, you push what's his name down there.
Oh, is that what he?
Okay, down there and then we shut it.
Okay.
All right. So, but you're going to do that, I assume. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
he can,
okay.
Obviously, Torrid can push it himself. That's why he's
okay.
There.
All right. So
Hildemar just needs you to help push him. And, you don't even have to make a roll because when he opens it up, he kind of like gets down to look to check on his family, and you could fucking kick him over.
I just put my boot right on his butt and.
Yeah, you hear and he kind of as he hits the bottom, and then you hear a bunch of people. Oh my god, what happened?
Shut it.
Okay, yeah, and you shut it. You now have it locked, and you see that there's actually a metal bar you can put across the thing to prevent it from opening from the inside.
I don't want to do that because if we all die in the process, and those people are going to be like, "Hello."
Well,
Put the
if you
fucking
don't,
bar
they can come out.
All right. I'll put the fucking bar on it.
All right, so you slide the bar.
All right, so
now they are trapping
Val,
you.
Val would just immediately run to the front and get the barrels and start wheeling the barrels to the center of this inn, and he would look to one of the dwarves that are there, especially the one with the great axe, and he would just look at him, point at the great axe, point at the barrel.
Break it now.
I'm assuming that's an intimidation. I'm actually going to have you roll that. You can roll it for me. You don't have to. Plus, I like the fact that you keep rolling.
Wait. I have an ability, and I'm going to use it. Anytime somebody, bountiful luck, when an ally you can see within 30 feet of you rolls a 1 on the d20 for an attack roll, an ability check, or a saving throw, you can use your reaction to let the ally re-roll the die.
Nice. So re-roll that, Val.
I do re-roll, and I roll a 21.
Awesome. Yeah. So for a split second, you think the dwarf is going to be like stone and not make any movements, but then he just you hear him like, fine, I'll do it. And he walks over and he splits the cask, putting a big, nice hole in it so you can dump it out.
All right, so all of the liquids going on the ground. I'm looking at my angelic friend in the front of the door, and then as I spread it out as much as I can.
Are you doing anything while he spreads flammable material across the whole floor?
Why are we burning down the bar when this is our barricade in order for us to not have to fight surrounded? He says this again. Last resort. I plan to live through this. We don't need to be burning down the building.
No, you will. But if you don't, last resorts.
And as Val says this, the camera pans over his shoulder and something comes in the depth of field. And Hildemar has the metal container with all the gold that they dropped down below, and he's getting his money back. And he goes, "We plan to live another day, okay?" And then just puts the empty thing back and ties it around his belt.
All right, so we'll assume at this point that the liquid is well drenched the whole ground. So,
sure.
So at that point in time, that last resort trap has been set. And at this point in time, Val is so happy with himself that he just takes out his sword and sits down in a chair and says,
"Let him the fuck in."
Oh, Jesus.
And at this point, Hildemar licks his 2 fingers, draws back an arrow. He's got his 2 short swords on the bar so that he could roll over it and get into the action. He actually brings a stool up to the bar so that he is tall enough to roll over it in one single action. But he's got the bow drawn and he's just watching the door, both eyes open. And then the moment he sees the door become unbarred, he'll close one eye and get ready to fire.
Wait. Val does one more thing. He jumps up, goes behind the bar, and finds a black coin.
Sure.
The one that he gave to the keep's wife.
Mm-hmm.
He picks up the coin.
It's not there.
It's not there. Okay. So then what he does is he picks up anything that he can find.
Okay.
Just an object.
Sure.
Is there? Well, he was emptying out gold before, right?
Yeah, I hand him one of the coins.
Yeah, I mean, there's miscellaneous objects. I just don't know what you're looking for. You grab a spoon.
All right. So what he will do is he'll hold on to the object and he'll say, "All right, there'll be 4 of me when we start. I will cast darkness, and there will be a corridor of light that the undead will come through. You will slay as many as you can, and then the 4 of me will collapse upon them. There will be an utter darkness, and we will slay them all."
All right.
Hildemar's just sitting there like, yeah, that's the most inspirational speech I've heard in a long time. Let's do this.
Yeah. Oddly enough, even Balearic is like, all right. 4 of you. That's great. Let me ask you before we do this, before we go on as a DM, you guys have a midnight game?
Yeah, but I'm fine. I mean, I'm good.
Well, no, I mean, it's just that you're not even like.
Oh, I forget I'm on Central Time.
Yeah.
You're
so
not
we
even.
might have to
Yeah.
pause it
So,
here then.
but
Yeah.
honestly, cliffhanger. Get fucked, chat.
It's a good point. It's a
This is
good point to stop
cliffhanger.
because combat's going to take more than an hour this easily, and to be honest, you're not even 5% done with the adventure. You literally just started it.
Let's face it, we knew this
that's-
wasn't going to be a one shot.
This time it wasn't my fault. This is not my
Dude, it's fucking James wanted to go hunting.
Let's go hunting. So sorry,
All right.
chat. You're
I
gonna
would
have
like
to come
say
back, and
we
you're gonna have to come back.
discovered a lot when we went hunting. Okay.
You did. You did.
All right. Well, thank you for running the game, John.
Hey,
John.
no, I hope you guys at least enjoyed the hunting trip,
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Listen,
and I hope you don't know what's going on because that's the whole.
I'm
thing.
super excited. I'm left in the dark. I want to do the dancing demon in again. So you guys just keep me posted, and I will let the chat know. That way they can be back here.
Yeah, because if anyone enjoyed it, then
Yeah, definitely them. And chat, stick around, take a break, because in about 20 to 30 minutes, we are going to be starting another D&D game where Dork Vision is going to be our dungeon master for the night, and we're going to continue on our Horde of the Dragon Queen campaign. But the beauty of it is, we are actually going off the rails a little bit. Our illustrious DM has modified the module quite a bit, so even if you've seen it, stop on by. You're joining at a great time, even if you haven't seen the other episodes. And if you haven't, look up Dork Vision on YouTube. That's where all of these episodes are. Is Dork Vision on YouTube? You'll be able to catch
hundreds
up
of
on
hours of gaming.
Hundreds of hours.
Literally.
So, definitely good. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and end the stream here, but we are going to be back in 20 to 30 minutes, so please tune in. And thank you all for stopping by. Again, this is Dork Vision. We've got Masterofflowers, Wolfden 808. You can find us all on YouTube. I know Masterofflowers streams with Deistress, so definitely check him out whenever he's playing Neverwinter with her. He also has his own Twitch. And as always, you know where to find me. So until next time, bye-bye.